Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. How could training in the outside world be faster than training in the academy? There were also no opportunities to obtain experience points. However, she could not say anything and could only nod. In the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, Xiao Yuhua was the only friend that Kang Xinmu had. Of course, before he left, he also informed the beautiful dean of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. After all, this beautiful dean had high hopes for him. If something happened to him outside, he would have to ask her for help. Usually, when a student came to the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, they would get 3 chances to summon the Dragon Emperor. However, what Kang Xinmu got was this beautiful dean's help. This opportunity was very rare. It could be said that no other student could get it. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was very respectful to this dean. After all, he still had to rely on her to save his life. The beautiful dean did not say anything when Kang Xinmu wanted to leave and train outside. However, she still personally sent Kang Xinmu to the Emperor Shi formation and told him to be careful on the way. Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran passed through the Emperor Shi formation and left the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy directly. After traveling through space, they appeared in the boundary forest again. In front of them was a dense and prosperous forest. It was the boundary between the 4 Dragon Martial Academies. In the west was the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. In the east was the Donghuang Yangu College. In the north was the Northern Wilderness Dragon Martial Academy. In the south was the South Emperor Dragon Martial Academy. The 4 Dragon Martial Academies competed with each other and cooperated with each other. However, in general, competition was still the main focus. They each belonged to 4 different Supreme Divine Dragons. For example, the Donghuang Yangu College belonged to the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon. The Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy belonged to the Emperor Shi Divine Dragon. Kang Xinmu was looking forward to seeing these Supreme Divine Dragons in the future. What would it be like? Of course, Kang Xinmu could faintly feel that the Black Dragon's consciousness in his body was probably of a higher level than these Supreme Divine Dragons. Currently, he had not seen a Supreme Divine Dragon and did not know what kind of existence it was. However, the mystery and strangeness of the Black Dragon's consciousness made him feel that it was the most terrifying thing in the world. I hope that the Black Dragon's consciousness will never awaken. Kang Xinmu had a feeling that once the Black Dragon's consciousness awakened, it would not be a good thing for him or this world. Let's go. Let's enter the boundary forest. Kang Xinmu led Ran Ran toward the boundary forest. Relying on the sun to determine the direction, they headed east. The Yen Dragon Emperor Empire was located in the eastern part of the Dragon Martial Continent. It was a rather remote area. Now that Kang Xinmu had a rough understanding of the distribution of the entire Dragon Martial Continent, he would not wander aimlessly and get lost. The last time I came here, Yu Tianchang deterred the demonic beasts below for me. But this time, it's just me and Ran Ran. It's said that the demonic beasts in the boundary forest are still very strong. We have to be wary of demonic beasts blocking our way. Kang Xinmu reminded Ran Ran. Ran Ran nodded repeatedly. Dressed in black, she looked petite and adorable. Then, the 2 of them turned into dragons and flew away. They planned to fly across the boundary forest as fast as possible. However, it turned out that with their cultivation realm, it was not as easy as they had imagined to fly across the dense forest quietly. Not long after they flew into the boundary forest, Kang Xinmu heard a strange beast roar coming from the dense forest below. It sounded like a cow, but also a little like a sheep. Along with this roar, a powerful energy wave erupted from the dense forest and swept toward Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran. A demonic beast is making a move. And it's not weak. It's at least a demon king, and an expert that has reached the reincarnation tribulation realm. Kang Xinmu's heart skipped a beat. He immediately prepared to fight. Chapter 43-37. Kang Xinmu was the first to react. He transformed into a black dragon and flew straight towards the energy ripple. He did not use any defensive dragon martial skill and directly collided with it. The Demon King that launched the surprise attack did not expect Kang Xinmu to react in such a way. He was probably secretly sneering. But soon, the Demon King definitely could not laugh anymore. This was because when the black dragon that Kang Xinmu transformed into collided with the energy ripple was actually shattered by Kang Xinmu's divine dragon body. Kang Xinmu relied purely on the power of body tempering to resist the other party's power. At this moment, even if Kang Xinmu relied purely on the strength of the divine dragon body, it was enough to deal with the Dragon King and Demon King powerhouses who were at the first or second stage of the rebirth tribulation realm. Unless the other party was special and had the ability to challenge those who were at a higher level, there was really no way to kill Kang Xinmu. On the other hand, it was relatively difficult for Kang Xinmu to kill the other party. Especially now, he did not dare to use the Nirvana devouring force to devour the other party's flesh and blood essence. Kang Xinmu blocked the other party's attack in one fell swoop and roared. The Nirvana devouring force directly swept towards the bottom of the boundary forest. Soon, Kang Xinmu flew to the dense forest below and saw a giant demonic beast that looked like a cow or sheep. It was more than 800 feet long and 500 to 600 feet tall, almost half the height of the huge ancient trees in the boundary forest. In the boundary forest, this cow-sheep-like demonic beast was definitely considered a huge monster. This place seemed to be the demonic beast's territory. The surrounding huge ancient trees were smashed by a tyrannical force and then arranged into a strange space, like the demonic beast's resting place. The eyes of the cow-sheep-like demonic beast stared fixedly at the black dragon that Kang Xinmu transformed into, revealing an extremely vigilant look. Then, the boundless pitch-black devouring power engulfed the monster king like a torrential storm. Moo! A strange beastly roar was emitted from the beast's mouth once again, followed by a terrifying energy ripple that swept across the place like a wave, forming a watery mirror that blocked the devouring force of Kang Xinmu. The wave-like energy ripples contained an extremely strong defensive ability. Kang Xinmu's devouring power was unable to penetrate it at all. And at this moment, Kang Xinmu also felt some beast roars coming from the surrounding forest. Some were near, some were far away, some were low, some were high. Clearly, the dragon warrior's actions in the boundary forest had caused the surrounding demonic beasts to be unhappy. We can't continue fighting. Let's go. Kang Xinmu glanced at the strange ox-goat demonic beasts and felt that it was a pity. If this demonic beast was killed, the Monster King's monster core in its body would be very useful to Kang Xinmu. If Kang Xinmu swallowed it in an emergency, no matter how serious his injuries were, he would be able to recover in an instant. It was just that he couldn't use it to exchange for experience points. Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy had a rule that only demonic beasts killed in the Beast Abyss could be exchanged for experience points. By now, Kang Xinmu had roughly realized something. The demonic beasts that were imprisoned in the Beast Abyss were basically more ferocious and bloodthirsty. Hence, they were placed there for the Dragon Warrior students to train. They could be considered to be of use, and it was better than directly killing them. Among the demonic beasts in the outside world, many were not so ferocious, and some were even docile. When Kang Xinmu and ran out of the boundary forest, they heaved a sigh of relief. They wouldn't gain anything from fighting the demonic beasts in the boundary forest. More importantly, there were too many of them. The rules of the Dragon Martial Continent basically forbade demonic beasts of a higher realm from bullying the weaker dragon martial artists. However, there were no rules against bullying with numbers. Therefore, as long as they were in the same realm, it wasn't a big deal for demonic beasts to bully others with numbers. Of course, this tacit rule was only limited to the more powerful demonic beasts and dragon martial artists. If some heavenly dragon blood essence inheritors were killed by demonic beasts, they would basically be dead. Not many people would stand up for them. Another example was some heavenly demons killing some true dragon and mortal dragon blood essence dragon martial artists. Nobody would go and pay attention either. Because that level was seriously too low. If they had to care about this sort of thing, wouldn't those powerhouses be busy to death? Mainly, reaching the Dragon King, Demon King, as well as the Dragon Emperor Demon Emperor stage, they would be restricted by this tacit rule. Under this, there would basically be nobody who would care much. After flying out of the Boundary Forest, what appeared in front of the two was a flourishing Dragon Emperor nation, the Immortal Grove Dragon Nation. This Dragon Emperor nation, due to it being adjacent to the Boundary Forest, had always been a popular nation for many powerful dragon martial artists to adventure. Many dragon martial artists came from afar from other places to rest and reorganize in this Dragon Emperor nation, forming teams, and going to the Boundary Forest to hunt demonic beasts and train themselves. At the same time, they would try their luck to see if they could gather some precious natural treasures. Some powerful dragon martial artist teams had extremely great harvests in the Boundary Forest. Instead, a hint of suppressive aura rose up, enveloping down towards Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. Not just him, including the other dragon martial artists in the surroundings, they all seemed to be displaying quite a bit of hostility towards Kong Shinmu at this time. Sensing the hostility from these dragon martial artists, only then did Kong Shinmu suddenly recall that this place already did not fall within the jurisdiction of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, but it belonged to the jurisdiction of Donghuang Yangwu College. This thought made Kong Shinmu become vigilant all at once. He transferred from Donghuang Yangwu College to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. So his relationship with Donghuang Yangwu College's side was definitely already very strained. Especially Donghuang Yangwu College's current dean, Xiaofan. He definitely wanted to get rid of him by every possible means. Once he returned to Donghuang Yangwu College's territory, what greeted him would probably be endless pursuit. In fact, it was very likely that there were already Xiaofan's people guarding the Yen Dragon Emperor's imperial capital, just waiting for him to return. After all, it could be deduced from the situation of him using the East Sovereign formation previously that each time he broke through Cultivation Realm, he had to return to the Yen Dragon Emperor's imperial capital. Could it be that when I rack my brains to return to the Yen Dragon Emperor's imperial capital, what awaits me will be a trap? Or perhaps, it's simply impossible for me to return to the Yen Dragon Emperor's imperial capital? Kong Shinmu's expression suddenly darkened. He was originally still planning on directly flying back. But looking at it now, due to Xiaofan, it was very likely that he would be unable to fly back to the Yen Dragon Emperor's imperial capital at all and would be intercepted halfway. And the most likely scenario was that Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran could not even get past this hurdle in front of them. Xiaofan definitely already knew now that Kong Shinmu joined Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Since that was the case, he would definitely publicly issue a wanted-like edict on him. This edict, within the scope of Donghuang Yangwu College's jurisdiction, was virtually akin to the Emperor's imperial edict, possessing a ruling-level influence. It was very likely that the Immortal Grove Dragon Country was already being monitored by Xiaofan's people, or it should be said that they received Xiaofan's order to intercept any students coming out from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. After all, Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy's students would very rarely cross the Boundary Forest and come to the scope of Donghuang Yangwu College's jurisdiction. Kong Shinmu sensed the other party's increasingly evident hostility and knew that this place was not suitable to stay for long. Go! Kong Shinmu pulled Ran Ran right away and turned around to flee. The divine dragon form that he had just removed recovered at once, turning into a pitch-black divine dragon and turning to run. The direction that he fled towards with Ran Ran was shockingly the Boundary Forest that he had just escaped from. Because in other places, he did not know whether or not there would be dragon martial artists who obtained Xiaofang's edict and wanted to capture him from there. Either way, in this crossing risk city, Kang Xinmu felt too much hostility. Especially from that fat earth attribute divine dragon. That fellow simply treated Kang Xinmu as prey, giving off a dangerous aura from head to toe. Speaking of which, it was just an instant. From that fat earth attribute divine dragon emitting hostility towards Kang Xinmu to Kang Xinmu pulling Ran and turning around to flee, it was also just a matter of that instant. By the time these dragon martial artists in the crossing risk city all reacted to it, Kang Xinmu already brought Ran and flew out 1,000 feet away. Chase. That fat earth attribute divine dragon completely did not think that Kang Xinmu was so sharp, to actually react in an instant and escape. His face fell, and he immediately ordered his subordinates to chase. Finally got a prey that took the bait, how could he possibly let the prey escape? Chapter 43-39. The Vice City Lord of the Transcendent City led close to 10 powerful Sky Dragon and Sacred Dragon experts and flew out of the city, planning to capture Kang Xinmu and Ran. As for Kang Xinmu and Ran, they turned around and quickly flew into the boundary forest. This boundary forest was the territory of the demonic beasts. However, there were not many powerful existences in the periphery. It was impossible for Kang Xinmu and Ran to fly in the sky. If they did, they would definitely be caught by the fat Vice City Lord of the Transcendent City. At that time, it would be very difficult to escape. Therefore, Kang Xinmu directly flew into the boundary forest with Ran. The forest is a complicated terrain. After we enter, we'll find a place to hide. There's no need to rush to escape. They won't be able to find our traces, so they will definitely split up. Then, we'll turn around and deal with them when they're alone. It's best if we can kill them in one strike. Kang Xinmu's current fighting style was different from before. Therefore, he did not rashly turn around to fight the other party. He planned to have some fun with the other party in the forest and familiarize himself with his current fighting style. However, it's impossible to deal with that fat divine dragon. This fellow's strength is probably about the same as the swift shadow meteor dragon from before. If I want to kill him, I might also fall unconscious. However, the others are slightly weaker than that fat divine dragon. I can try to kill them in one strike. Kang Xinmu flew into the boundary forest with Ran. He did not immediately hide. After all, there were too many dragon martial artists in the periphery and too few demonic beasts. It was disadvantageous to them. Kang Xinmu planned to fly to a place with more demonic beasts before making plans. Together with Ran, he executed the movement dragon martial technique and flew towards the depths of the boundary forest at an extremely fast speed. Soon, they were more than 200 kilometers deep into the boundary forest. Ran had cultivated the body-type origin dragon martial technique, so her flying speed was needless to say. As for Kang Xinmu, after using the extreme shadow flowing light, his speed was not slow to begin with. Most importantly, the origin dragon martial technique that Ran had cultivated actually allowed him to fly even faster. Ran's origin dragon martial skill was called Wind Death Dragon Tornado. While flying, it could create an extremely fast airflow behind it. If there were other dragon warriors in this airflow, their speed would also increase. Most importantly, when Ran used the Wind Death Tornado, she could control the tornado behind her. Kang Xinmu was not far behind her, so he could speed up together with her. However, if they were further away, the tornado would obstruct the opponent's movement, and it would also have a certain degree of destructive power. The Wind Death Tornado was the origin dragon martial technique. In Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, it was considered a rather popular dragon martial technique. Ran had put in a lot of effort to learn it in such a short period of time. Moreover, her cultivation level was not considered too high. Otherwise, she would have been able to escape with Kang Xinmu even faster. This girl, Kang Xinmu, was a little touched. It had to be said that from Ran Ran's point of view, what she lacked the most wasn't this kind of auxiliary-type origin dragon martial technique. Instead, she needed to increase her cultivation level and cultivate a dragon martial technique that was either offensive or defensive. However, she had cultivated the Wind Death Tornado, and it was obvious that she wanted to assist Kang Xinmu. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was naturally rather touched. But now was not the time to be moved. They swiftly flew out over 200 miles. In the depths of the Boundary Division forest, there was no existence that could catch up to them. Unless a demon sovereign or dragon emperor class existence appeared, only then would there be a possibility of catching up to them. But on the demonic beast side, it was impossible for there to be a demon sovereign to come and deal with the two of them. And on the Immortal Grove Dragon Empire's side, the closest crossing city, the strongest city lord, was also just a dragon king. As for the dragon emperor, wanting to rush over was absolutely not something that could be done in a short while. Therefore, after Ran Ran deployed the Wind Death Tornado with all her might, they were virtually like a howling gale passing by in the Boundary Division forest. There was no one who could catch their footsteps at all. Let's hide. Feeling that the position was pretty much there were already quite a number of demonic beasts eyeing covetously in the surroundings. Including the demonic beasts that chased after Kang Xinmu duo previously, they had not run far either. They also chased after them together from the left and right rear. In the eyes of these demonic beasts, Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran were seriously too bold. Crossing over from the Boundary Division forest, and now, they wanted to cross back. Did they really take the Boundary Division forest to be their back garden? Therefore, those demonic beasts were bound to block Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran, to teach them a profound lesson. But at the same time, the demonic beasts were also on guard against those dragon martial artists that were chasing after Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran, which was also the crossing city's fat deputy city lord and his party of dragon martial artists. These dragon martial artists had always been the Boundary Division forest's demonic beasts' great enemy. Especially that fatty, to the demonic beasts of the Boundary Division forest, he was simply the number one enemy. This was because the fat deputy city lord of the Boundary Division forest, the dragon martial artist, had organized many extermination operations against the demonic beasts of the Boundary Division forest. To the demonic beasts of the Boundary Division forest, he was an existence that was even more detestable than Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran. In any case, Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran had only disturbed the rest of a demonic beast in the Boundary Division forest. Moreover, the cause of the matter seemed to be that demonic beast that had taken the initiative to provoke Kang Xinmu. All in all, Kang Xinmu didn't seem to have provoked these demonic beasts too much. But that fatty was different. That fellow was a mortal enemy of the demonic beasts of the Boundary Division forest. In fact, as they went deeper into the Boundary Division forest, the surrounding demonic beasts seemed to be chasing after Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran on the surface, but in reality, they were already on guard against the dragon martial artists of the Boundary Division forest. When Kang Xinmu brought Ran Ran directly into the Boundary Division forest, he removed his divine dragon form and concealed himself. The surrounding demonic beasts and dragon martial artists of the Boundary Division forest were instantly dumbfounded. These two actually concealed themselves in the Boundary Division forest. Search for them. The fat city lord of the Boundary Division forest immediately bellowed. To him, capturing Kang Xinmu was a death order from the higher-ups. Moreover, once he captured Kang Xinmu, he would be able to obtain too many benefits. Therefore, he definitely wouldn't give up on this opportunity. Originally, the fat city lord of the Boundary Division forest had already given up on the idea of advancing to the level of the Dragon Emperor's divine dragon blood. But now, the higher-ups had promised him that as long as he could capture Kang Xinmu, he would be able to head to the Donghuang Yangwu College and have a certain amount of cultivation time. This was his only chance to raise the grade of the divine dragon's divine dragon blood. Even though the city lord of the Boundary Division Forest was a sacred dragon powerhouse, it was extremely difficult for him to obtain enough supreme treasures with dragon mark energy. Reaching the level of the Dragon King in this lifetime would be the limit. Reaching the level of the Dragon Emperor was out of the question. However, as long as he captured Kong Shinmu, he would have a chance. How could this not make him go crazy? Chapter 43-40. Kong Shinmu brought Ran Ran and directly hid in the dense forest of the Boundary Forest. In the depths of the Boundary Forest, enormous trees grew in clusters. They were all enormous trees that reached thousands of feet tall, forming a stretch of shade. No one knew just how many kinds of demonic beasts existed inside. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran removed their divine dragon forms, their tiny bodies hiding in a stretch of shrubbery. They could sense that there were many powerful auras flying around in the sky, wanting to find their traces. These powerful auras had demonic beasts and also dragon martial artists. Those dragon martial artists that came from the Immortal Grove Dragon Kingdom surpassing city were all still rather cautious and did not dare to descend into the Boundary Forest. As for those demonic beasts, they did not launch an attack at them rashly either. After all, this group of people's numbers were too many. If it carried on like this, even if Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran walked on the ground, they could walk God knows how far away. Hence, the Immortal Grove Dragon Kingdom's dragon martial artists were all rather anxious. After roughly discussing for a while, they decided to go deep into the Boundary Forest together. They did not remove their divine dragon forms, all flying straight in towards the Boundary Forest. Over a dozen several thousand feet long powerful divine dragons instantly descended below the Boundary Forest, startling a wave of beast roars and bird cries. Originally, quite a number of demonic beasts lived here. They were all not the overly strong kind. Normally speaking, such a deep place, there would not be dragon martial artists coming. Unfortunately, someone came over today and broke the peace of these demonic beasts. Going deep into the Boundary Forest over 200 miles, this place, ordinary dragon martial artist hunting squads did not even dare to come to such a deep place. Normally, they would just hunt some demonic beasts that were not too strong in the periphery. Those demonic beasts would normally also go to the periphery to find dragon martial artists to treat as prey. And the demonic beasts living in the vicinity of this area, many did not pose too much of a threat. Facing the arrival of the dragon martial artists at this time, they could only flee with startled cries. There were beasts and also bird-type demonic beasts. Countless cries spread throughout the entire dense forest. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran sensed the movements around them, but they didn't act rashly. They hid in a thicket and almost no one would be able to discover them. The key was that Kong Shinmu still had the help of the Nightmare Ink Beast's aura, which allowed him to hide his aura to the extreme. It was almost impossible for others to find traces of him based on his aura. Unfortunately, even the current dean of Donghuang Yangwu College did not know about this. Otherwise, if he had warned them in advance, these dragon warriors who were chasing after Kong Shinmu might have been able to make some preparations and use some special detection methods in advance. At this moment, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran were hiding in a thicket, feeling the powerful dragon warriors flying around them. Dragon roars constantly came from all directions, as well as the unwilling roars of the demonic beasts. It almost never stopped. The demonic beasts were all chased out of the area. The dragon warriors who were chasing after them were all very anxious. This dense forest wasn't their territory, but the demonic beasts. If they couldn't find traces of Kong Shinmu and the others for a long time, the situation they were facing would only worsen. Hurry up and find those two little rats. As long as we can catch those two brats this time, we'll be heavily rewarded when we return. The fat deputy city lord's angry roars continuously resounded throughout the dense forest. The fat divine dragon flew in the sky and didn't come down personally. Instead, he was observing the surroundings. The demonic beasts surrounding them were increasing in number. Although these demonic beasts weren't much of a threat to them at the moment, these numbers and ranks didn't pose much of a threat to them. However, if this continued, they would soon be surrounded by powerful demonic beasts. Furthermore, as the divine dragon deputy city lord of U-City and a powerful existence at the 7th level of the Samsara realm, the demonic beasts would most likely be transferred over from other places very soon. When that time came, all of them would be pinned down. Damn it! The fat deputy city lord of U-City was very angry. He didn't know why Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran were running so fast. Even if they had the origin dragon martial technique, it shouldn't be so exaggerated. The key is still Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy's Wind Death Tornado Break, the fat deputy city lord snorted coldly. The tornado created by the Wind Death Tornado Break had seriously slowed down their pursuit. Even if they wanted to avoid the tornado from the side and go around it, they still wouldn't be able to catch up with Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. Therefore, this situation was created. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran found an opportunity to hide in the dense forest of the Boundary Forest, and they couldn't be found. This situation made the fat deputy city lord very angry. The dozen or so dragon warriors under him searched everywhere, wishing they could dig 3 feet into the ground. Unfortunately, with the Nightmare Ink Beast's aura concealing, they couldn't detect the aura of Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran at all. Half an hour passed. 2 hours passed. During this long period of time, the surrounding demonic beasts basically didn't make a move. They just surrounded the area, keeping their guard up against the dragon warriors. At this time, there were already hundreds of powerful demonic beasts surrounding the dragon warriors. Of course, the cultivation of these demonic beasts wasn't very high, and the quality of their blood essence wasn't very good. Their combined strength couldn't even compare to the deputy city lord of U-City. However, they seemed to be getting more and more restless, as if some powerful demonic beast was about to arrive at this place. Still can't find him? The fat deputy city lord of U-City obviously felt that something was wrong. The surrounding demonic beasts were obviously preparing to cause trouble. If they still couldn't find Kong Shinmu, they would definitely be in big trouble today. However, he wasn't too willing to go back just like this. Many of his subordinates had already started to destroy the trees of the Boundary Forest, using their powerful Nirvana and Samsara powers to raise the entire forest to the ground. When they did this, it was obvious that the surrounding demonic beasts were enraged. The Boundary Forest was their home, but now these dragon warriors had come in and wantonly destroyed it. How could they not be angry? For a moment it was as if the entire Boundary Forest was filled with the roars of beasts. Countless demonic beasts were condemning the dragon warriors of U-City for destroying the forest. It was also at this moment that an earth-shattering roar suddenly descended from the heavens. Chapter 43-41. The Phoenix Demon King's arrival caused the fat city lord's face to darken. The earthy yellow fat divine dragon body that he had transformed into erupted with an extremely terrifying speed. Although this fellow looked very bloated, when faced with a strong enemy, his combat strength was not weak at all. In the blink of an eye, the fat divine dragon drew a streak of earthen yellow light, and a few afterimages condensed in the air. These afterimages danced together, and a wave of earth-type samsara energy rained down from the sky. 900 million reincarnations of violent earth sand. The fat divine dragon snorted coldly and immediately unleashed this dragon martial technique. Without a doubt, this was an origin dragon martial technique. Although it was only a basic origin dragon martial technique, it had been cultivated to the highest heaven grade level. Coupled with his powerful cultivation of the 7th level of the rebirth tribulation realm, it erupted with terrifying destructive power. 900 million reincarnations of violent earth sand. Each grain of sand represented one reincarnation cycle. Countless pieces of sand, stones, and soil filled the sky at this moment. They formed a violent tornado that swept towards the Phoenix Demon King that was descending upon them. When the Phoenix Demon King descended, endless flames burned the sky. At this moment, the endless flames of the Demon King collided with the 900 million reincarnations of violent earth sand. Waves of energy rippled in the air and rapidly spread to the surroundings. At this moment, the other demonic beasts in the surroundings all retreated. Even the other dragon martialists of the Wuxia city didn't dare to approach the battlefield. The level of the battle was too high for them. Even if the others were only affected by the shockwaves, they would still suffer serious injuries. The demonic beasts and that fatty are fighting. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran were still hiding in the bushes, calmly observing the scene. Just now, the dragon martialists of the Wuxia city were burning the lush vegetation in the surroundings. Coincidentally, the Phoenix Demon King had arrived. Otherwise, they would have been discovered by the dragon martialists of the Wuxia city in no time. Of course, if that was really the case, then the lush vegetation in the area would all be burned, and the dragon martialists would have formed an irreconcilable grudge with the demonic beasts of the boundary forest. After all, it would take at least a few years for the lush vegetation to grow again, even in a place with rich heaven and earth spiritual energy. And this was the common home of these demonic beasts. At this moment, the arrival of the Phoenix demonic beast allowed Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran to continue hiding, waiting for an opportunity to strike. They can fight their own battles. Can we quietly kill the other dragon martial artists? Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes and looked at the dragon warriors who had been forced into different directions by the intense battle. A plan formed in his mind. Right now, the fatty from Wuxia city definitely had no time to care about the situation here. After all, the Phoenix Demon King was holding him back. Therefore, it was the safest time for Kong Shinmu to make a move. Moreover, if he were to attack these dragon martial artists, the surrounding demonic beasts should not interfere, right? Kong Shinmu believed that he had not done anything harmful to these demonic beasts. Apart from the fat deputy city lord of Wuxia city, the other dozen or so dragon martial artists were not even worth a kick to Kong Shinmu. Even if all of them attacked together, Kong Shinmu would not be afraid of them. The main reason was that Kong Shinmu's current body-tempering dragon martial technique had been cultivated to a rather terrifying level. Most importantly, although his devouring power could not devour the essence of flesh and blood, it could copy the other party's ability. After thinking it through, Kong Shinmu decided to attack together with Ran Ran. Ran Ran's current support ability was also very strong. Just the Wind Death Tornado Break, the origin source dragon martial technique, could play a huge role in the battle. After communicating with Ran Ran for a while, Kong Shinmu acted decisively. At this moment, the fat deputy city lord of Wuxia city was fighting with the Phoenix Demon King in the sky. He definitely had no time to pay attention to the situation below. Kong Shinmu took advantage of the fact that the surrounding people were not paying attention and suddenly appeared in an instant. He transformed into a pitch-black divine dragon and, together with Ran Ran, launched a surprise attack on the weakest dragon martial artist who was closest to them. This dragon martial artist was a water attribute divine dragon. It was a light blue water attribute divine dragon that was over 1,000 feet long. At this moment, he avoided the intense battle in the sky and flew in circles near the place where Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran were hiding. He possessed the blood essence of a sky dragon, and his cultivation realm had also reached the 5th level of the reincarnation realm. This cultivation realm was very high. Unfortunately, in Kong Shinmu's opinion, the difference between the Sky Dragon and the Dragon King was too great. One must know that the current Kong Shinmu, as the Dragon King, was extremely difficult to deal with even when facing the Dragon Emperor. It was conceivable that the Sky Dragon was 2 levels lower than the Dragon King, and the difference in strength was even greater. At this moment, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran suddenly attacked. They each activated the Void Dragon Sky Raising Break and attacked the Water Attribute Sky Dragon Expert. 12 beams of pitch-black dragon breath condensed in an instant and swept over. The Water Attribute Sky Dragon Expert did not expect Kang Shinmu to be hiding in the forest not far away from him. He was still paying attention to the intense battle in the sky. The sneak attack by Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran caused him to be flustered, and he instinctively released the defensive dragon martial technique. Unfortunately, his reaction speed was a little slow. Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran attacked together. Both of them possessed the blood essence of a sky dragon. Even though his cultivation realm was much lower than his opponent's, the suppression of the blood essence of a sky dragon made it impossible for his opponent to resist. The horrifying Void Dragon Sky Raising Break and the 12 beams of pitch-black dragon breath penetrated the body of the Sky Dragon Expert almost instantly, severely injuring him. Fresh dragon blood spurted out wildly, and he fell into the forest below. What? Watch out! When Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran appeared to launch a sneak attack, the surrounding dragon martial artists naturally reacted. They let out divine dragon roars and flew towards where Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran were, intending to besiege Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran together. They originally thought that although Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran had the blood essence of a dragon king, their cultivation realm was very low. Logically speaking, it was impossible for them to deal with so many people. Unfortunately, they completely underestimated the combat strength of Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran. Although they were only at the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, Kang Shinmu had even killed the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm Dragon King head-on. Although the price was a little high, it would not be difficult for Jiang Shenwu to fight someone of a higher level without paying such a high price. Even if it was the first or second stage Reincarnation Tribulation Realm Dragon King, Kang Shinmu would be able to deal with them. Chapter 43-42. Kang Shinmu did not hesitate at all. Seeing that there were more than 10 dragon warriors attacking him from all directions, he brought Ran Ran and broke out of the encirclement. He had to break out of the encirclement now. Although he did not take these dragon warriors seriously, he would not be too careless. In this situation, if he was surrounded by all of them, it would undoubtedly be a worse situation. Therefore, he planned to break out of the encirclement in one direction. At the same time, Ran Ran's Wind Death Tornado was also activated in an instant. The violent tornado that erupted swept through the entire area in an instant. Under the control of Ran Ran, these violent tornadoes became the biggest obstacle for the dragon warriors who wanted to surround them from other directions. With the obstruction of the violent tornado, they would need at least the time it took for an incense stick to burn if they wanted to get close to Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran. During this time, Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran followed the violent wind and directly faced the 4 dragon warriors who surrounded them from the other side. These 4 dragon warriors were slightly stronger than the guy they had just met and seriously injured, but their strength was limited. Kang Shinmu maintained his instinctive vigilance and then activated the power of the dragon-marked blood pendant. A burst of bright red power began to cover Kang Shinmu's black divine dragon body. At this time, he heard the divine dragon blood in his body boiling and roaring. Devouring power, explode. Kang Shinmu's pitch-black devouring power, covered with a blood-red light, directly swept towards the 4 divine dragons. When the other party saw this, they could not sense what the 4 pitch-black power lights covered with blood-red light represented. At this moment, they all sneered and each of them erupted with their strongest techniques, striving to kill Kang Shinmu in one blow. In any case, the request from the higher-ups was not to capture him alive. Therefore, as long as they could kill Kang Shinmu, they would still choose to kill Kang Shinmu. After all, it was a little difficult to capture him alive. As long as he could kill Kang Shinmu, that would be enough. Just now, Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran had launched a sneak attack, heavily injuring one of their teammates. This made them feel that Kang Shinmu was a little troublesome to deal with, so they didn't dare to be careless. As soon as they met, they used their strongest moves. 3 of the dragon warriors unleashed their grade 2 dragon martial skills that had been cultivated to the heaven tier, while the last one unleashed his origin dragon martial skill that had not been cultivated to the heaven tier. When 2 of the dragon warriors launched their attacks, they even coordinated with their own dragon-grade dragon weapons. A dragon-level dragon weapon was a rather precious existence to an ordinary dragon warrior, so it was normal for them to use a dragon-level dragon weapon. Not everyone would have a heaven-level dragon weapon. For example, when Kong Shinmu was in Dragon Emperor Yan's court, the holy dragon of the Shi clan residence, Shi Tao, was a holy dragon expert. The dragon-level dragon weapons of their Shi clan residence were all rather precious items. It was truly difficult for ordinary people to obtain a dragon weapon of this level. Therefore, it was already very rare for 2 out of 4 holy dragon subordinates to have a dragon-level dragon weapon. It had to be said that the other party's attack was simply too strong. The 4 of them had even sealed off any possible escape routes for Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. Wind, fire, and lightning, a total of 3 types of power, swept over from 4 directions, instantly enveloping Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. However, the pitch-black devouring power that Kong Shinmu had just unleashed, wrapped in the color of blood, finally collided with the attacks of the 4 opponents. This time, the collision did not produce any shockwaves like what the others had imagined it would. Instead, it was as if all the powers in the field had fused together. How chaotic. After fusing with the ability of the Dragonskar blood pendant, Kong Shinmu's divine dragon essence blood boiled, and he devoured the power of nirvana to transform. At this time, the devouring power could completely devour the other party's power and even make it his own. At this moment, Kong Shinmu directly devoured the attacks of the 4 dragon warriors. However, these 4 attacks all had different attributes. Among them, there was the wind attribute, fire attribute, and although the other 2 were both thunder attribute, one was the power of purple lightning, and the other was the power of black lightning. Their attributes were not the same. Kong Shinmu absorbed the power of 4 different attributes at the same time and was able to make it his own. He immediately felt a little confused. However, he quickly sorted out his thoughts. The other party's power was not too strong. If he devoured it and used it himself, it would not be too much for him. Therefore, he could completely rely on this to fight against the other party. This was also the first time he had actively used this ability. The next moment, go! The 4 powers that Kong Shinmu had just devoured were exploded by him almost at the same time. Among them, the spinning storm condensed by the power of the wind attribute was turned by Kong Shinmu to attack the fire attribute divine dragon, and the 9-layered burning raging flames condensed by the power of the fire attribute was controlled by Kong Shinmu to attack the wind attribute divine dragon. As for the power of purple lightning and the power of black lightning, they were also switched by Kong Shinmu and attacked each other. 4 different types of power seems to be the limit. If there were more types of power, even if I could devour them, I wouldn't have enough energy to control them. Different elemental energies have different sensations when controlling them. The techniques required are also different. If one does not have enough experience, it would be very difficult to unleash its full power. Fortunately, the dragon martial skill used by these 4 people is not considered too complicated. Kong Shinmu thought in his heart. In fact, it was not that the dragon martial skills they used were not complicated, but Kong Shinmu's comprehension was strong enough. If he did not have such a strong comprehension, even if he gave the transformed power of devouring to others, he would not be able to control other people's power so quickly. Kong Shinmu devoured the other party's power and instantly counterattacked, causing the faces of the 4 dragon martial artists to change greatly. How could they have imagined that Kong Shinmu actually had such a strange method? The 4 of their dragon martial skills were all blocked by Kong Shinmu at the same time. Not only did he block it, but he also turned it around to attack their own people. What's going on? The strength of the 4 of them were about the same. At this time, they could only adopt a defensive stance and each used a defensive dragon martial skill. Unfortunately, the arrangement that Kang Xinmu had just made was completely a pretense. When the four of them used their defensive dragon martial skills, the black dragon body that Kang Xinmu had transformed into suddenly roared and controlled the power of the four opponents. It actually gathered together and swept towards the fire attribute divine dragon. The attacks of the four people, including his own, all surged towards him at this moment, as if the sky had collapsed and enveloped him. A terrifying power descended, and the four different types of dragon martial skills at this moment fused into an extremely destructive power storm, completely engulfing the fire attribute divine dragon. Chapter 43-43. Kang Xinmu's sudden change of attack caught the fire-attributed divine dragon off guard. His entire body was drowned in the attack formed by the fusion of the four elemental powers. This guy seemed to have lost all signs of life in an instant, because the four of them had originally used their strongest attacks to attack Jiang Shenwu. In the end, they were devoured by Jiang Shenwu, and the strongest attacks of the four of them concentrated together, bombarding one of them. No one among them would be able to withstand such an attack. In the next moment, the surrounding demonic beasts, as well as the dragon martialists who were struggling to surround from another direction, saw the black body of a divine dragon falling into the dense forest below. This fellow was not dead, and his vitality was quite strong. However, it would definitely take some time for him to recover. Furthermore, it would take a lot of resources. The most important thing was that under these circumstances, these dragon warriors had just burned down a lot of lush vegetation in the boundary forest, causing many places to become bare. Especially the fire attribute divine dragon, it had just burned the most happily. Now that he was heavily injured and had fallen into the boundary forest, one could imagine how the surrounding demonic beasts would let him go. That included the fellow who had been ambushed by Kang Xinmu and ran for the first time. He was probably deader than dead now. In the sky, the Phoenix Demon King and the Vice City Lord of the U City were engaged in an intense battle. The sky above the treetops of the forest was the battlefield of Kang Xinmu and the other dragon martialists. As for the boundary forest, it had already become a gathering place for demonic beasts. Because Kang Xinmu had just ambushed and severely injured a dragon martialist, that fellow had fallen into the boundary forest and was eaten by the demonic beasts. Now that another fire-attributed divine dragon had been severely injured and had fallen into the dense forest, another group of demonic beasts rushed over. It had to be said that the demonic beasts of the boundary forest had too much hatred for the dragon martialists of the U City. Now that they had a chance to take revenge, they would not hold back at all. Their attacks were even more brutal than those of Kang Xinmu and Ran. In just a moment, the divine dragon body of the fire attribute dragon warrior had been divided and eaten by the many demonic beasts. There were over 100 demon beasts of different bloodlines and species, strong and weak, noble and ordinary, but at this moment, they all gathered together and raised their heads, watching Kang Xinmu's battle in midair. To them it was too difficult for them to kill these dragon warriors, because they did not have that much strength to begin with, and the dragon warriors were born with an advantage. But now, they had the chance to devour the dragon warriors who had invaded their homeland. All of this was brought to them by Kang Xinmu. Although in their eyes, the relationship between Kang Xinmu and these dragon warriors was like a dog biting dog, they were still looking forward to it. Many of the weaker demonic beasts were looking forward to it in the dense forest below, hoping that Kang Xinmu could kill another dragon warrior as soon as possible and let them share the food. The current Kang Xinmu, of course, did not think so much. Anyway, he could feel that the dragon warrior, who was seriously injured by him and fell into the dense forest, was getting weaker and weaker until he died. He did not care too much, because his original intention was to kill these guys anyway. Needless to say, these guys were definitely Zhuo Xiaofeng's lackeys. Kang Xinmu even planned to kill Zhuo Xiaofeng, so what was the point of killing these lackeys? The fire attribute divine dragon fell into the dense forest, and the remaining 3 dragon warriors were still in a state of shock. They were shocked by Kang Shinmu's thunderous means, and did not expect that Kang Shinmu could kill one of them in an instant. Originally, they thought that since Kang Shinmu's cultivation was so low, even if he had some special means, they could at least restrain Kang Shinmu and wait for their deputy city lord to free up, or seize an opportunity to capture this Kang Shinmu and leave. Unfortunately, they now knew that they were wrong, and it was a big mistake. Void Dragon Sky Raising Break, kill. Kang Shinmu would not say any more nonsense to the other party. He had just seriously injured the fire attribute divine dragon, and he had already consumed all the power of the 4 opponents that he had just devoured. Otherwise, it would be impossible to achieve such a serious injury. Therefore, he had no power to use next, and could only use his own power. The devouring power covered the power of the dragon scar blood, causing the blood essence in Kang Shinmu's body to boil, condensing into a blood-red void dragon sky raising break. 6 pitch-black and blood-red divine dragon phantoms condensed in the surrounding void, and then each of them spewed out a terrifying beam of dragon breath covered in pitch-black and blood-red. The 6 beams of light headed straight for the water attribute divine dragon. Kang Shinmu had already observed before that this water attribute divine dragon was relatively slow, while the other 2 thunder attribute divine dragons were faster. The preparation time for the void dragon sky raising break was a little too long, and the attack was too slow, easily dodging by the opponent. Therefore, the target was this water attribute divine dragon. It was also at this time that the other 2 thunder attribute divine dragons seemed to have seen some hope, and each launched a pincer attack towards Kang Shinmu from the left and right. Purple lightning power. Black lightning power. Purple and black, 2 different types of lightning power, swept towards Kang Shinmu from the left and right in an instant. These 2 attacks came too fast, and Kang Shinmu did not even have time to react. After all, he was still attacking that water attribute divine dragon at this time. Done. When they saw the 2 purple and black lightning power bombarding Kang Shinmu's body with lightning speed, the 2 dragon martial artists were delighted in their hearts. Their speed was too fast, and they had specifically picked a time when Kang Shinmu could not concentrate, which allowed their dragon martial technique to hit its target. The methods they used this time were equally powerful. They were both second-grade dragon martial techniques that had been cultivated to the peak, and they also combined it with the power of a dragon-grade dragon weapon. The tyrannical lightning power erupted on Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. Purple lightning power, black lightning power, the 2 types of lightning power swam rapidly on the surface of Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. The super-destructive power was waiting for an opportunity, trying to find any weak point in his defense to invade his divine dragon body. If it was another dragon king with the same cultivation realm as Kang Shinmu, he would probably tremble when he was attacked by these 2 types of lightning power. His whole body would be paralyzed by the lightning power, and he would not be able to move. However, Kang Shinmu was different. Jiang Shenwu had cultivated many powerful body-tempering dragon-type martial techniques, especially the Origin Dragon martial technique, Chaotic Dragon Body. After devouring his opponent's lightning-attributed power, his divine dragon body's resistance to the power of lightning had become even stronger. Chapter 43-44. Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body was more resistant to beatings than everyone imagined. At this very moment, Kang Shinmu suffered the combined attack of 2 powerhouses and actually did not have the slightest sign of being attacked. It was as if it was just a light breeze blowing past and did not cause any impact to him at all. This scene made the purple lightning divine dragon and the black lightning divine dragon's faces change drastically. That attack just now was already one of their strongest attacks. It actually could not do anything to Kang Shinmu at all. Instead, Kang Shinmu's Void Dragon Sky Raising Smash arrived at this instant and directly blasted on that water attribute divine dragon's body, erupting with unparalleled destructive power. The destructive power nearly made that water attribute divine dragon lose consciousness instantly. Fortunately, he endured the pain and gathered all the strength in his body, desperately making himself fly towards the distant sky. He knew that if he fell into the boundary forest with serious injuries now, then the outcome of his two companions just now would be his following outcome. He would be divided and eaten by countless kinds of demonic beasts. This was really too miserable. Hence, he directly flew up and fled, wanting to escape this area while he could still move. Unfortunately, he had just turned around when Ran's slender black dragon body appeared in front of him. The Wind Death Tornado Break, this dragon source origin dragon martial technique, erupted in an instant, and a tornado swept him in. Originally, this fellow had already been seriously injured by Kong Shinmu. Now, he was only fleeing in a sorry state and did not have much strength left. After being swept in by Ran's Wind Death Tornado Break, this fellow actually did not have any ability to resist at all. He was directly swept up by Ran and thrown towards the boundary forest. Hence, another dragon martial artist transformed into a divine dragon body and landed in the boundary forest. The demonic beasts all let out joyful roars one after another. One by one, they sprinted over towards the place where that water attribute divine dragon fell. The entire boundary forest was filled with angry wildness. The demonic beasts went crazy. They wanted to cheer for Kong Shinmu and Ran. In an instant, the water attribute divine dragon that had fallen into the boundary forest only had time to let out a desperate cry before its figure and voice were drowned out by the demonic beasts. Looking at this scene, the remaining two Violet Lightning Divine Dragon and Black Lightning Divine Dragon each took a step back, subconsciously becoming incomparably nervous. This Kong Shinmu is too strange. What kind of methods did he use to kill all of them one by one? They really couldn't figure it out. Kill. Kong Shinmu then locked his gaze on the Violet Divine Dragon. That Violet Divine Dragon was simply fearless. Without any hesitation, it turned around and flew off into the distance. This scene stunned all the living beings in the surroundings. What was going on? This brat actually ran away. Do you have to be so straightforward? Isn't this too cowardly? When Kong Shinmu turned his gaze to the remaining Black Lightning Divine Dragon, that Black Lightning Divine Dragon trembled all over and turned around to flee just like the Violet Lightning Divine Dragon. They really didn't want to be enemies with Kong Shinmu. At the very least, they now understood that given their current cultivation realm and the grade of the Divine Dragon's essence blood, they simply weren't a match for Kong Shinmu. Their attacks on Kong Shinmu didn't respond at all. Even if Kong Shinmu just stood there and let them attack, they wouldn't be able to hurt Kong Shinmu at all. What was the point of fighting then? However, when the two divine dragons turned around and fled, the Vice City Lord of the U City, who was fighting with the Phoenix Demon King in the sky, flew into a rage. He had restrained the strongest opponent here, and his subordinates had found traces of Kong Shinmu, but they actually couldn't do anything to this brat? And he still wanted to escape? This was simply preposterous. In a split second, the fat Vice City Lord of the U City temporarily broke away from the Phoenix Demon King's attack and descended with lightning speed. His dragon claws mightily condensed a khaki-colored power of the Earth attribute. Like a small mountain descending, it directly suppressed the escaping Violet Lightning Divine Dragon. The Violet Lightning Divine Dragon's 300-meter-long body was like a kitten in front of the small mountain condensed by the fat Vice City Lord. It was instantly suppressed and smashed into the boundary forest below. This time, the surrounding demon beasts were somewhat speechless, and some even kept quiet out of fear. They thought to themselves, isn't that fat dragon warrior a little too violent? He actually killed his own people? And he even used such a method to suppress and kill. They couldn't even eat the Violet Lightning Divine Dragon's dragon meat anymore. The roars of the demon beasts in the boundary forest immediately quietened down. The other Black Lightning Divine Dragon, who had also been scared off by Kong Shinmu, saw this and his face turned incomparably gloomy. He wanted to run, but in this situation, if he took another step forward, it was very likely that he would be killed by the Vice City Lord himself. He could only bite the bullet and turn back. Fortunately, at this time, the others who had been delayed by Ran Rant's wind death tornado were relatively close. There were even 2 experts with the blood essence of the sacred dragon who had launched a terrifying attack on Kang Shinmu from afar. The black lightning divine dragon gritted his teeth, turned around, and continued to attack Kang Shinmu. The power of black lightning shone all over his body, and a black electric net burst out, enveloping Kang Shinmu, trying to hold him back. Courting death. Seeing this, Kang Shinmu didn't care at all. His body was covered in a blood-red devouring power, and it directly erupted like a torrent. This devouring power directly devoured the attacks of the 2 sacred dragon experts in the distance. The 2 sacred dragon experts, one with light attribute power, and the other with dark attribute power, were both devoured by Kang Shinmu and turned into his own. The 2 second-grade dragon martial techniques had consumed a lot of the power of the 2 sacred dragons. Their destructive power was several times stronger than the combined attacks of the violet lightning divine dragon, the black lightning divine dragon, and the others. Unfortunately, these 2 attacks were directly devoured by Kang Shinmu. Die. After the attacks of the 2 sacred dragons were devoured by Kang Shinmu, he used them in reverse and blasted them directly at the black lightning divine dragon closest to him. 7 light attribute light swords and 1 dark attribute dark ripple instantly bombarded the black thunder divine dragon's body. 7 light swords immediately penetrated the black lightning divine dragon's body like meteors, drilling 7 large holes. The last dark ripple directly penetrated the black lightning divine dragon's heart, corroding the entire heart. The terrifying destructive power left the black lightning divine dragon without the slightest ability to resist. It didn't even have time to react before dying. With a loud bang, the black lightning divine dragon also fell into the boundary forest. This time, many of the surrounding demon beasts were somewhat afraid of Kang Shinmu. Now that Kang Shinmu was slaughtering the dragon warriors, what about later? Would Kang Shinmu attack the demon beasts? No matter what, these demon beasts really didn't have a good impression of the dragon warriors. Chapter 43-45. These demon beasts' worries were not without reason. One must know that although Kang Shinmu was strong, he was still only a dragon king's divine dragon blood essence. The boundary forest could not let a demon emperor fight. Once a demon emperor fought, there would be powerful dragon warriors coming to punish the demon beasts. Therefore, they could only let the demon kings deal with Kang Shinmu. And among the demon kings, there was also a rule that they could not bully the weak. At most, they could only surpass the opponent by 1 realm under extreme circumstances. In this current situation, they could at most let a demon king at the 5th level of the rebirth tribulation realm fight against Kang Shinmu. However, under such restrictions, the battle strength that Kang Shinmu displayed at this moment was already quite close to that of a demon king at the 5th level of the rebirth tribulation realm. One must know that Kang Shinmu had even devoured the attacks of 2 divine dragons at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation realm and turned them into his own. One could imagine how strong Kang Shinmu's limit was. The demon beasts could not imagine that if there was a powerful demon beast that could kill a rebirth tribulation realm demon beast at the 5th level of the nirvana tribulation realm, their demon beast tribe would be wild with joy. Unfortunately, such an existence had never appeared in thousands of years. At this moment, Kang Shinmu had killed another dragon warrior. At this point, the 4 dragon warriors who had surrounded Kang Shinmu had all died without exception. No matter who killed them, the bodies of these 4 dragon warriors were probably only skeletons now. It was also at this time that the 6 dragon warriors in the distance finally caught up and surrounded Kang Shinmu and ran. Among them, there were 2 divine dragons, and the other 4 were heavenly dragons. Each of them was at least at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation realm. This situation made Kong Shinmu narrow his eyes. The pitch-black divine dragon that he had transformed into floated in midair and did not move rashly. It was obvious that even if the 4 heavenly dragons joined forces to attack Kong Shinmu would not need to be afraid. However, what he was afraid of was that the 2 divine dragons would besiege him and the remaining 4 divine dragons would besiege Ran. Now that they were surrounded by 6 experts, it would not be easy for them to break out of the encirclement. It was obvious that the other party was an experienced hunter. Although they were surprised by Jiang Shenwu and Ranran's strength, they were able to find their weaknesses. As long as the 2 of them held Kong Shinmu back and took the opportunity to kill or capture Ran, everything would go smoothly. Their idea was the most suitable for the current situation. Furthermore, this was the situation that Kong Shinmu was most afraid of. After the other party surrounded them, the 2 divine dragons did not hesitate at all. The 2 divine dragons made their moves. The 2 different powers of the light attribute and the dark attribute fused together to execute a dragon controlling technique. This dragon controlling technique was the origin source dragon technique. Furthermore, it was executed by them together. The 2 of them had transformed into divine dragons, one black and one white. They were a married couple that had worked together for a long time and had an extremely close relationship with each other. The couple had cultivated this origin source dragon technique to the peak of the heaven tier. They usually used it to apprehend criminals, but now they were using it on Kong Shinmu. This origin source dragon technique, which had been cultivated to the peak of the heaven tier, immediately formed a giant black and white net that enveloped Kong Shinmu's 4,000 to 5,000 feet long black dragon body. The terrifying control even caused Jiang Shenwu, who was affected by it, to lose at least half of his strength. Moreover, Kong Shinmu felt that the devouring power in his body was restricted to a certain extent. Its power was not as strong as before. Without a doubt, the origin source dragon technique executed by the other party, a reincarnation tribulation realm expert, was definitely powerful. Kong Shinmu was actually restrained for a moment. At the same time, the other 4 heavenly dragon experts launched a surprise attack on Ran, as if they had planned it beforehand. Based on the other party's strategy and execution, it would not be a problem to capture Ran. However, what they did not expect was that Kong Shinmu and Ran were not fighting against each other. The centipede ink beast had been hiding in the surroundings. If not for the centipede ink beast, Kong Shinmu and Ran would not have been able to hide in the dense forest for such a long time. At this moment, when the 4 heavenly dragon experts were about to attack Ran, a black shadow suddenly appeared from the void. A gust of black smoke appeared around the 4 heavenly dragon experts without any warning. It penetrated into their bodies and eroded their divine dragon bodies in an instant. This situation caused everyone in the surroundings to be stunned. What was going on? What was that black smoke? But soon, one of the fire attribute divine dragons shouted in horror, "This is the poison of the centipede ink beast. They are rearing a centipede ink beast. It's the centipede ink beast? No wonder we couldn't find them just now. How could the 4 heavenly dragons still care about attacking Ran? Once they were poisoned by the centipede ink beast, only death awaited them if they could not use the blood of the centipede ink beast to detoxify the poison. Unless the divine dragon's blood was of the same grade as the Dragon King, they would be immune to death. This was practically an iron law. To the wandering dragon martialists, experts and demon emperors were not a threat. After all, once these existences appeared, they could avoid them and escape in advance. However, it was impossible to guard against something like the centipede ink beast. At this moment, not only were the 4 heavenly dragon experts panicking, but even the divine dragon couple became cautious and kept their guard up against the void around them. Even if the divine dragon martialists were poisoned by the centipede ink beast, their combat strength would be greatly reduced, and their lives would be in danger. Find the centipede ink beast and kill it first. The light attribute white divine dragon roared furiously. This was a woman's voice. She was the wife of the couple. As soon as she finished speaking, a total of 6 dragon martialists attacked at the same time and unleashed all sorts of terrifying powers into the void around them. Just now, a black shadow had flashed across the void, and they had caught a glimpse of the centipede ink beast. Hence, they had followed the trail of the black shadow and attacked the surrounding void. Their attacks were extremely ferocious. The centipede ink beast had indeed not left that area. Although its concealment technique was extremely strong and no one could discover it, it would still expose itself the moment it used the poison. This gave the other party an opportunity to seize it. As long as they reacted quickly, it was possible to capture the centipede ink beast and use its blood to detoxify the poison. Chapter 43-46. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran watched everything unfold in front of them in silence. The nightmare ink beast had followed them for a long time. It had even followed them all the way from Donghuang Yangwu College to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Along the way, it had helped Kong Shinmu several times and resolved many dangerous situations. Now, the nightmare ink beast had helped them once again. However, this time, the nightmare ink beast had not been able to retreat in time. Just as the attacks of the group of dragon warriors were about to engulf the entire space, 2 wild roars of tiger-type demonic beasts suddenly rang out from the dense forest below. This is... The 6 dragon warriors had originally focused all their energy on finding and killing the nightmare ink beast. They had not expected such an unforeseen event to occur midway. After the 2 tiger roars, the figures of 2 giant demonic beasts rapidly burst out from the forest. They were 2 sacred beasts at the reincarnation tribulation realm. Their cultivation realms were completely comparable to the sacred dragon couple. At that moment, they directly launched a frenzied attack on the sacred dragon couple. In this way, under the threat of demonic beasts of the same realm, the sacred dragon couple could only give up on hunting down the nightmare ink beast. Just the other 4 sacred dragon warriors alone might not be able to find the nightmare ink beast. After all, the nightmare ink beast was not weak. Its poison could poison a sacred dragon to death, and it could also greatly weaken a sacred dragon warrior's combat strength. At that moment, the 4 sacred dragon warriors had already been poisoned by the nightmare ink beast. They could only unleash less than 30% of their peak strength. Even Ran Ran could easily suppress the 4 of them. As for the sacred dragon couple, they were being held back by the 2 tiger sacred beasts. They had to expend effort to continue controlling Kong Shinmu and prevent the nightmare ink beast from poisoning them. Being divided into 3 tasks meant that the sacred dragon couple could not unleash their combat strength at all. Kong Shinmu was a little stunned when he saw this scene. He had originally thought that the situation was a little troublesome. However, he did not expect that in the blink of an eye, the nightmare ink beast would help him, and then the 2 tiger sacred beasts would fly up. What was going on? Could it be that the appearance of the nightmare ink beast had gained the approval of the demonic beasts, so the 2 tiger saint beasts came out to help him? After all, the centipede ink beast was a type of demonic beast. Moreover, it was a relatively rare type of demonic beast. Generally speaking, once the centipede ink beast was discovered by a dragon warrior, it would be captured and used to refine some poisons and the like. But now, a free, wild Mo beast had appeared, and it was willing to help Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran, the 2 young dragon warriors. Obviously, these 2 dragon warriors were the friends of the demonic beast. At this moment, the 2 tiger saint demons erupted, their roars shaking the heavens. Countless sharp claws swept through the sky and swept towards the holy demon couple, suppressing them to the point they were practically unable to fight back. The key was that a large part of their strength was used to maintain the black and white giant net. Otherwise, once Kong Shinmu escaped, their situation would be even more disadvantageous. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu was not any weaker than any of them. Now that a large part of their strength was being restrained by the two tiger saint demons, if Kang Xinmu still couldn't escape, he might as well find a rock and smash himself to death. Seeing that the two tiger saint demons had appeared to help, Kang Xinmu didn't stay idle. He immediately released all the power of the dragon scar blood in his body and fused it with his devouring divine dragon blood essence. Endless devouring power surged out of his body, constantly devouring the black and white giant net that trapped him. Kang Xinmu constantly bombarded the same place with his devouring power, causing the black and white giant net to weaken. In fact, Kang Xinmu even devoured the black and white giant net's power and used it for his own. Before the holy dragon couple could even react, Kang Xinmu had already devoured a large hole in the black and white giant net. When a large hole was devoured in the black and white giant net, Kang Xinmu was much more relaxed. The devouring power quickly enveloped the entire black and white giant net. Then, a similar black and white giant net surged out of Kang Xinmu's black dragon body and swept towards the holy dragon couple. When the two tiger saint demons saw this, they immediately retreated without hesitation, allowing the black and white giant net to trap the holy dragon couple inside. What? In the blink of an eye, Kang Xinmu had devoured the entire black and white giant net and controlled them instead. At this moment, Kang Xinmu felt that his devouring power seemed to be overdrawn. The devouring power in his body had been greatly depleted. The main reason was that he had been fighting for too long, so the devouring power in his body could not be replenished. Moreover, Kang Xinmu discovered that this devouring power, which had been fused with the dragon-marked blood pendant's power and had undergone a metamorphosis, could not be replenished by devouring the power of demon cores. Even the recovery effect of the dark dragon's inferiority spell was less than 30% of the usual. In other words, when I fuse with the dragon-marked blood pendant to fight and devour the opponent's power for my own use, my ability to fight continuously isn't strong. Kang Xinmu reminded himself in the depths of his heart. However, the situation had already stabilized. With a backhand, Kang Xinmu used the black and white giant net to trap the holy dragon couple, entangling their black and white divine dragon bodies. Then, Kang Xinmu glanced at the two tiger saint demons. Both sides seemed to understand each other's intentions. In the next moment, Kang Xinmu and the two tiger saint demons seized this opportunity and charged towards the four sky dragon martialists who were bombarding the void where the ink nightmare beast was. The four sky dragons had never expected things to turn out this way. They were almost unprepared and Kang Xinmu and the two tiger saint demons charged into their formation. Kang Xinmu immediately activated his devouring power and completely enveloped the fire attribute dragon martialist. The terrifying devouring power transformed into a shadow dragon sky-piercing strike. 6 beams of blood-red dragon's breath bombarded that fellow from a close distance. Boom. The fire attribute dragon martialist had no ability to resist at all and directly fell towards the boundary forest. As for the two tiger saint demons, they were like tigers entering a flock of sheep. The 3 sky dragon martialists had no ability to resist at all. The sky was filled with blood-red claws and countless bone-deep wounds were left on the divine dragons' bodies. Even the hearts of the divine dragons were dug out. With their overwhelming battle prowess, the two tiger saint demons easily killed the 3 heaven dragons and blasted their divine dragon corpses into the boundary forest. Only the saint demon couple was left. At this moment, they were flying back to back and were frantically attacking the black and white giant net that came from them. The dragon-controlling martial technique that they cultivated was very strong. It was so strong that even they could not break through it. At this moment, they were trapped by the black and white giant net and could only watch as the 4 sky dragons were slaughtered by Kang Xinmu and the tiger saint demons. Under such circumstances, the saint demon couple was already terrified. They had never expected the situation to turn out this way. Chapter 43-47. When the Holy Dragon couple saw the Tiger Holy Demons and Kong Shinmu joining hands, they actually forgot about the Mo beast for a moment. At this moment, a black mist scattered over them. Before they could react, they directly inhaled it through their nostrils. They were poisoned. Their divine dragon body's expressions changed drastically. Unfortunately, at this moment, Kong Shinmu and the two Tiger Holy Demons were outside the black and white net, glaring at them. The black and white net had completely trapped them, making it impossible for them to escape. Deputy City Lord, save me! The Holy Dragon couple immediately sent out a cry for help to the sky. They really had no other choice now. Among the dragon martial artists that the Deputy City Lord had brought, other than the two of them, were all dead. Most of them had died at the hands of Kong Shinmu, and some had died at the hands of the two Tiger Holy Demons. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that as a dragon martial artist, Kong Shinmu would actually join hands with demon beasts. And it seemed like these demon beasts did not have any hostility towards Kong Shinmu. They suddenly thought of the Mo beast. When the two Tiger Holy Demons attacked, it was when the Mo beast appeared. Perhaps because the Mo beast was helping Kong Shinmu, the demon beasts of the boundary forest below also chose to help Kong Shinmu. Or rather, they wanted to kill the Mo beast, so the demon beasts all attacked to stop them from killing the Mo beast. They had never thought of this situation. They had lived for so many years, but they had never even heard of such a thing. There were not many dragon martial artists who had the Mo beast, let alone someone who could make the Mo beast take the initiative to help. What had this Kong Shinmu done in the past? Also, why did the higher-ups go through so much trouble to put this kid on the wanted list? Unfortunately, these questions could not be answered by the Holy Dragon couple no matter what. This was because after hearing their call for help, the fat Deputy City Lord in the sky, that khaki divine dragon, seemed to have been burned by the Phoenix Demon King, and all the dragon scales on his body had turned a charred color. In this situation where he could not even protect himself, how could the fat Deputy City Lord still have the mood to save his subordinates? If he did not run, he might not even be able to protect his own life. Trash. Good luck to you. After the fat Deputy City Lord roared, he tucked his tail between his legs and quickly flew into the distance, fleeing in a sorry state. He couldn't care less about capturing Kong Shinmu now. Originally, he thought that since Kong Shinmu was a dragon warrior, wouldn't he be courting death by entering the boundary forest? Who knew that now, Kong Shinmu would actually join hands with the demonic beasts, which was totally unexpected. Therefore, he could only flee. If he wanted to capture Kong Shinmu in this situation, he had to suppress all the powerful monsters present. He was just a holy dragon, and he did not have that ability. He decided to return to the Greater Risk City first, then swiftly report the situation to the Immortal Grove Dragon Country's upper echelons, the dragon martial artists. The Dragon King and Dragon Emperor must be very interested in this news. Originally, this fat Deputy City Lord only wanted to swallow the benefits of capturing Kong Shinmu alone. But sadly, looking at it now, his ability was still too lacking. If the Immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor powerhouses took action, then wanting to enter the boundary forest to capture Kong Shinmu would be something effortless. Generally speaking, when dragon martial artists entered the boundary forest, if they did not provoke demonic beasts, the demonic beasts would not provoke dragon martial artists either. At least, it was like this at the Dragon Emperor's level. The prestige of a Dragon Emperor powerhouse was inviolable. Even if they flew past above the demonic beasts below could only shut their mouths one after another, not even daring to breathe loudly. Because once the Dragon Emperor was enraged and killed those puny demonic beasts, there would be no one who would stand up for them at all. The rule that the strong were not allowed to bully the weak was only targeted at demonic beasts. After all, only the Dragon Martial Artists camp existed stronger Dragon Martial Artists. The strongest demonic beasts were also about to die, unable to contend with dragon martial artists at all. The dragon martial continent was ultimately still the world of dragon martial artists. When that fat deputy city lord escaped, Kang Xinmu's expression changed slightly. If this guy ran, his whereabouts would probably be exposed. Of course, even if this deputy city lord did not make it back, the Immortal Grove Dragon Country side would also discover the abnormality after a few days, and report the situation from there. But Kang Xinmu did not wish to let this guy directly escape back. Ran, chase. Kang Xinmu did not have any hesitation, directly flying swiftly in the direction that fat deputy city lord escaped in. This time, Kang Xinmu and Ran's speed virtually erupted to the limits. The effect of wind death tornado swept up Kang Xinmu and charged swiftly in that direction. The horrifying speed made the two people who transformed into divine dragon bodies were akin to two black meteors, instantly streaking across the horizon. At the same time, when that Phoenix Demon King saw the situation, he did not have the plan of letting the deputy city lord go either. From another direction, he chased after the other party swiftly. Boundless flames started burning and spreading from the horizon, swiftly sweeping towards the fat deputy city lord's earthen yellow divine dragon body. The others already could not keep up with their speed. Ran brought along Kang Xinmu, the two people chased after with extreme speed. That deputy city lord was already burned by the Phoenix Demon King, his speed greatly reduced, cutting a sorry figure as he fled. What made him despair the most was that Kang Xinmu and Ran seemed to be getting closer and closer. Also, that boundless flames creeping over in the sky were also getting closer and closer. What to do? The deputy city lord's fat earthen yellow divine dragon body was akin to a headless fly, swiftly fleeing into the distance. Unfortunately, a series of furious roars of demonic beasts sounded out in the surroundings. He even faintly saw that in the boundary dividing forest ahead, there seemed to be some holy demon-level existences planning on coming out to block his path. Although it was definitely rather easy for him to deal with holy demons, the other party could definitely delay his speed by a great extent, causing the Phoenix Demon King behind him to catch up. Kang Xinmu, I'm going to make you die. This deputy city lord was simply on the verge of collapse right now. Originally, the Phoenix Demon King did not even plan on chasing after him. In the end, Kang Xinmu and Ran directly caught up, making that Phoenix Demon King also seem to feel that it was better to chase after. This situation made the deputy city lord very uncomfortable. Wasn't it good for everyone to be harmonious and happy? He was in the sky above the boundary dividing forest, flying swiftly in the direction of the Immortal Grove Dragon Country. Originally, he already had despair in his heart. Suddenly, an incomparably resounding dragon roar came from ahead. This dragon roar made the fat deputy city lord overjoyed in his heart. It's Lord Dragon Emperor is here. The fat deputy city lord never would have thought that the voice of the Immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor would come from ahead. The Immortal Grove Dragon Country, as a famous dragon martial artist adventuring nation, had a total of 3 Dragon Emperor-class powerhouses. One of the Dragon Emperor powerhouses was the Western Border Dragon Emperor, who guarded near the boundary dividing forest. The fat deputy city lord thought of it very quickly. It should be that when Kang Xinmu appeared in the transcending city, there was a Western Border Dragon Emperor subordinate who saw it, so he notified the Western Border Dragon Emperor. It was just that he moved too quickly, directly chasing Kang Xinmu to the boundary dividing forest. Hence, when the Western Border Dragon Emperor got the news and rushed over, he just happened to appear in front of him at this time. This made that fat deputy city lord simply agitated until tears streamed down his face, crying bitterly. He was confident that he could kill this fat deputy city lord. Without hesitation, Kang Xinmu's blood-red devouring power swept towards the barren dragon sand burial. The devouring power was like a torrent that could devour heaven and earth. It completely enveloped the barren dragon sand burial and devoured it. At this moment, an incomparably tyrannical power exploded. Kong Shinmu's divine dragon eyes emitted endless killing intent. At this moment, the power of the barren dragon sand burial that he had devoured was still sweeping across the sky. However, its target had changed to the Deputy City Lord. The fat Deputy City Lord's face darkened when he saw the attack that was comparable to a third-level Rebirth Tribulation Realm cultivator. He had seen Kong Shinmu's fighting style earlier and knew that Kong Shinmu could devour other people's power for his own use. However, there must be conditions for this devouring, right? He couldn't turn everything into his own power. Otherwise, wouldn't he be invincible? The Deputy City Lord thought that since his cultivation was so high, Kong Shinmu shouldn't be able to devour his power. However, he didn't expect. The barren dragon sand burial instantly enveloped him. It wasn't that the Deputy City Lord wasn't prepared. With a flip of his hand, he gathered his own samsara force, the heavenly earth force. After the heavenly earth force transformed into the samsara force, it had a special effect. It could absorb the destructive power of all attacks. This method had a limit to the amount of energy it could absorb, but it wouldn't be a problem for it to absorb his barren dragon sand burial. In the next moment, this layer of heavenly earth power directly condensed into a thick earth divine shield, continuously absorbing the explosive power of Jiang Shenwu's desolate dragon sand. When Kong Shinmu saw this, he let out a low roar. He used his blood-red devouring power to control and pull the barren dragon sand burial's power back and forth, delaying the other party from completely absorbing it. At the same time, Kong Shinmu felt that the dragon-marked blood pendant on his body was becoming more and more compatible. It seemed like it was about to merge. Only when the dragon weapon merged could it explode with its strongest power. Previously, when Kong Shinmu merged with the heavenly sacred halberd, he was able to explode with unparalleled power and kill opponents that were much stronger than him. This time, he had just obtained the dragon-marked blood pendant not long ago, but he felt like he was about to merge with it. This surprised Kong Shinmu. Could it be that the dragon-marked blood pendant's power is more compatible with me? Or is the dragon-marked blood pendant's power related to the devouring power? As for the specific reason, Kong Shinmu didn't know. He could only say that the dragon-marked blood pendant, a heaven-class dragon weapon, was slowly acknowledging Kong Shinmu. This was a good thing for Kong Shinmu. He didn't waste any time. He quickly felt the dragon-marked blood pendant's power. At the same time, he used the barren dragon sand burial's power to fight against the thick earth shield. At this time, the Phoenix King beast saw this and didn't continue to run away. Instead, it gave chase. What? That damn phoenix is chasing? The fat Deputy City Lord was simply about to be scared to death. He originally only counterattacked Kong Shinmu when he saw the Phoenix Demon King escape. In the end, he didn't expect that when he was held back by Kong Shinmu now, that Phoenix Demon King actually chased after again. If he was caught up by the Phoenix Demon King, he would definitely only have a dead end. And his savior, the immortal Grove Dragon Kingdom's Dragon Emperor, was still far away at the horizon. He could not even see the battle over here clearly. It was simply impossible to help him within a short time. Hence, he had to break away from Kong Shinmu's pestering. But sadly, barren dragon sand burial. Chapter 43-49. Desolate dragon sand explosive burial was surmounting city's vice city lord's own power. He was all too familiar with this. At this very moment, under his heavy injuries, he really could not quite withstand this burst of power. The main thing was that when all of it poured down together, his thick earth divine shield did not have time to absorb it either. Even if he wanted to turn around and escape, he could not do it. The power of desolate dragon sand explosive burial entangled him tightly, making him unable to break through. This situation made the eyes of the Phoenix Demon King who hurried over swiftly light up. This Phoenix Demon King was a ruthless character too. Without any hesitation at all, the fiery red explosive flame demonic technique that filled the skies was cast toward surmounting city's Vice City Lord, sweeping over. The fiery red color that filled the skies swept out explosively in all directions. The horrifying fire attribute power instantly enveloped the entire surmounting city's colossal dragon body. His earthen yellow divine dragon body was faintly discernible in this lush flame. Under the endless burning, it became increasingly charred black. The fat Vice City Lord's shrill screams transmitted out continuously. He was trapped by his own power and could not escape. Then the Phoenix Demon King who heavily injured him caught up and unleashed a one-hit kill. Before long, surmounting city's Vice City Lord already could not hold on anymore. He wanted to struggle and escape the burning of those flames that filled the skies. Unfortunately, he had just popped his head out when Ran's wind death tornado swept him back again. At this time, he was already heavily injured until he could not even resist Ran's wind death tornado anymore. He was burned alive in the flames just like that, all the way until he died. During this process, the immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor powerhouse who was currently rushing over from afar simply had his eyes popping out. He completely did not expect that the Phoenix Demon King and two dragon martial artists who did not look strong actually dared to kill surmounting city's Vice City Lord in front of him. He did not dare to imagine that this kind of thing would happen in front of him. But this really happened. Furthermore, Kong Shinmu, the Phoenix Demon King, as well as Ran, the three of them all turned around and planned on escaping after killing that surmounting city's Vice City Lord. The immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor was simply about to be angered to death. He was far away, so he didn't see how the Vice City Lord was killed. However, he felt that it was definitely because of the Phoenix Demon King. However, he wasn't interested in the Phoenix Demon King. Instead, he headed straight for Kong Shinmu and Ran. Of course, he also wanted to capture Kong Shinmu and Ran alive because of his superior's order. With his strength, as long as he could get within a certain range of Kong Shinmu, it would be a piece of cake to capture Kong Shinmu alive. Therefore, when he saw that Kong Shinmu was about to escape, he immediately sneered. The entire body of the Dragon Emperor, with a black stream of light, chased after Kong Shinmu at top speed. After killing that surmounting city's Vice City Lord and seeing his charred corpse that lost all signs of life falling down the dense forest below, Kong Shinmu brought Ran and turned around to run. Of course, the Phoenix Demon King also turned around and ran. It was just that both parties fled in different directions. The direction the Phoenix Demon King fled in was the direction where the demon sovereign powerhouses of the Boundary Forest were. Earlier, when it decided to chase after the surmounting city's Vice City Lord in the end, it already notified the nearest demon sovereign powerhouse. Therefore, if it rushed over now, it should be able to rendezvous with the other party in time. But what it did not expect was that the immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor actually did not chase after it, but chased after Kong Shinmu and Ran whom it did not take seriously. These two dragon martial artists seemed to have been chased back to the Boundary Forest previously. The Phoenix Demon King could not quite understand. It felt that it killed the surmounting city's Vice City Lord, the other party's backer would definitely come to hunt it down, right? At this moment, that Dragon Emperor actually did not chase after it but went to chase after those two puny little dragon martial artists that did not pose any threat. Of course, the Phoenix Demon King was also astonished because of Kong Shinmu's combat strength. But just based on this combat strength, there was no need to make the Dragon Emperor attach so much importance either. Could it be that these two puny little dragon martial artists had some special identity? This did not have much to do with the Phoenix Demon King anymore. It left swiftly, lest that Dragon Emperor only pretended to chase after the dragon martial artists and suddenly turned around to chase after it. Then it would be finished. Caught up. As Kong Shinmu and Ran turned around and flew swiftly, they observed that Immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor's movements and discovered that the other party actually chased after them. Wind Death Tornado Break. Ran executed this Source Dragon martial technique desperately. But sadly, firstly, her cultivation realm was too low. Her Divine Dragon Blood Essence grade was also only Dragon King. Secondly, the time she cultivated this dragon martial technique was not long. The effects were not good. No matter how hard she tried, that Wind Death Tornado Break that erupted was unable to stop that Immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor in the slightest. The distance between both parties was currently shrinking rapidly. So fast. Even Kong Shinmu was somewhat shocked by this Dragon Emperor's speed. Logically speaking, even the Flame Dragon Emperor did not have such terrifying speed. But this was different from the type of Divine Dragon Blood Essence that every dragon martial artist awakened. Some Divine Dragons were strong in defense, some Divine Dragons were strong in attack, and some were fast in speed. Kong Shinmu did not know whether this Immortal Grove Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor Powerhouse's attack was strong or not, or whether his defense was strong or not. But he knew that this guy's speed was absolutely the fastest kind. Even if Kong Shinmu coordinated with Ran's Wind Death Tornado Break, the other party's speed was more than twice as fast as theirs. The distance that was originally far away at the horizon turned into a streak of black flowing light very quickly and arrived in Kong Shinmu's and the others' field of vision. What they saw was a divine dragon that was completely gray in color. Its body was 10,000 feet long, massive and vast as it approached. Its aura was vast and mighty. A hint of indifference and ferocity seeped through the divine dragon's pupils. He wanted to capture Kong Shinmu and Ran alive. No way. Too fast, too strong. At this rate, we'll definitely be caught up. Kong Shinmu's face fell. Right now, it was him and Ran fleeing together. The two of them were both Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy's students. Hence, they still had trump cards. Looks like it was already time for them to bring out their trump cards now. Ran is still relatively weak right now. If she encounters danger, she can only rely on Emperor Shi's seal to protect her life. Therefore, I must do it this time. Kong Shinmu's face revealed a bitter smile. He did not expect that he just parted ways with that beautiful female dean from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy not long ago. Now, he was going to see the other party again. Furthermore, it was even to ask for help from the other party, making the other party come to resolve the predicament. If not for being driven into a corner, Kong Shinmu absolutely would not trouble others. But now, that Immortal Grove Dragon Country's dragon martial artist was going to catch up right away. Since it's someone of Xiaofan's level who wants to capture me, then you guys who run errands better be prepared to contend with a powerhouse of Xiaofan's level. Kong Shinmu carried such a mentality and gave a cold laugh. The Emperor Shi's seal on his wrist directly lit up. Chapter 4350. When this graceful figure in red appeared, the entire space around them seemed to have come to a standstill. Even though she did not transform into her divine dragon form, just her peerless and graceful figure alone had already brought with it an incomparably powerful aura, and she had the entire situation under her control. She was the current dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Kong Shinmu did not know her name. He had asked her before, but she did not tell him and only asked him to call her Dean. Dean. At this moment, seeing that she had appeared because of his call for help, Kong Shinmu bowed to her respectfully. I had expected that you would be in danger. The beautiful Dean in red smiled gently and looked around with her beautiful face. She was a little surprised. I didn't expect you to be able to do this. Kong Shinmu did not know what she meant, so he did not reply. Did she see through something with just one look? Just now, Kong Shinmu and Ran did not seem to have done anything. They only killed some dragon martial artists from Yuwu City. The Sky Dragon and Shang Dragon were nothing. Only the deputy city lord, who was slightly stronger, died nearby. However, it was mainly the Phoenix Demon King who killed them. At most, Kang Shinmu played the role of preventing them from escaping. Of course, these things were very common in Kang Shinmu's eyes. However, in the eyes of others, it was quite unimaginable. A young dragon martial artist who was only at the 5th tier of the Nirvana realm could actually kill so many powerful dragon martial artists in the Rebirth realm. Even if they were only Sky Dragons or Shang Dragons, it was still very shocking. That's right. The beautiful Dean glanced at Kang Shinmu and said with a smile, I thought that with Xiaofang's character, he would definitely not bide his time. As expected, this guy spread the news to the entire Donghuang Yangwu College. In that case, your hometown, the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty, is very likely under the surveillance of Xiaofang's people. It is too dangerous for you to go back alone. Do you have any reason to go back? The beautiful Dean calmly asked Kang Shinmu. She did not place that Immortal Grove Dragon Empire's Dragon Emperor not far away in her sights at all. This, Kang Shinmu hesitated. Even in front of the beautiful Dean, he did not know if he should tell her about the Black Dragon's consciousness. After all, this matter was far too shocking. Once he told her, it was very likely that he would be consigned to eternal damnation. I can't say for now, but I have a reason to go back. Kang Shinmu said decisively. The beautiful Dean nodded after hearing his words. Since you've said so, I'll accompany you. Even if Xiaofang appears personally, he won't be able to hurt you at all. With her saying this, Kang Shinmu was naturally relieved. Unfortunately, he really couldn't tell her about the Black Dragon's consciousness. He could only apologize to the beautiful director in his heart. Immediately after, the beautiful director directly raised her head and looked at the Immortal Grove Dragon Empire's Dragon Emperor who caught up. At this very moment, that guy, as the Dragon Emperor, had already thoroughly stopped in his tracks. He had never seen before such a beautiful woman. But the horrifying aura exuding off this woman's body made his entire person hard to move. That unparalleled tyrannical aura made his entire divine dragon body break out in cold sweat. Too strong. What kind of powerhouse was that? In this world, there was actually still such a powerhouse existing? Even a Dragon Emperor level powerhouse might not know the truth of the Dragon Martial Continent. They only knew that above their Dragon Emperor, there were definitely even stronger existences. But they did not know what kind of methods these stronger existences existed in, and where they were normally. This was this Immortal Grove Dragon Empire's Dragon Emperor's first time seeing a super divine dragon in this lifetime. Super Dragon. The red-clothed beautiful director only gave that Dragon Emperor a glance, and it made that Dragon Emperor involuntarily remove his divine dragon form, turning into the image of a middle-aged man wearing a grey robe, his head covered in cold sweat, cupping his fists and bowing respectfully towards her. This senior, this lowly one has offended you. I'll withdraw right away, withdraw right away. I hope that you don't mind. He looked at the red-clothed beautiful director and Kang Shinmu's conversation and knew that this peerlessly beautiful woman was the helper that Kang Shinmu this little brat found. The higher-ups requested him to capture Kang Shinmu, but did not say what kind of opponent he would encounter. With this peerlessly beautiful woman around, who could still capture Kang Shinmu? Forcefully making a move was simply courting death. He could only admit defeat first and go back to report the situation to the higher-ups. Although he was one of the Immortal Grove Dragon Empire's 3 great Dragon Emperors, he was also just the Western Borders Dragon Emperor. The entire Immortal Grove Dragon Empire was mainly still ruled by the Immortal Grove Dragon Emperor. His strength was also much stronger than him, this Western Borders Dragon Emperor. The news of capturing Kang Shinmu was precisely the mission issued by the Immortal Grove Dragon Emperor. Therefore, his experience this time definitely had to go back and report to the Immortal Grove Dragon Emperor. As for who the Immortal Grove Dragon Emperor was responsible for, this Western Borders Dragon Emperor did not know. This Western Borders Dragon Emperor thought beautifully. He felt that if he apologized directly and then withdrew, the other party should not make a move against him. After all, he did not do anything, right? It was also chasing after Kang Xinmu for a period of time, but what he did not expect was that the red-clothed beautiful woman just raised her hand. A burst of boundless bright red flames immediately burned up from the void, directly igniting that Western Borders Dragon Emperor. The Western Borders Dragon Emperor was greatly alarmed and immediately transforming into a divine dragon's body anew. All of the strength in his body condensed together, displaying a source defensive dragon martial technique. He wanted to extinguish the flames on his body, but alas, he discovered very quickly that that bright red flame was not what he could extinguish at all. It even spread all over his body very quickly. What kind of power is this? How could the power of a super divine dragon be what he, a rank 3 dragon emperor, could imagine? This Western Borders Dragon Emperor had only just stepped into the Dragon Emperor level of divine dragon blood essence not long ago. This kind of divine dragon blood essence grade was very common even in the Dragon Martial Academy. Any random dragon emperor could crush him. How could he possibly survive under the beautiful female dean's hands? She did not talk nonsense with the other party at all, directly making a move, virtually instantly killing the other party. Under the circumstances where her cultivation realm was not lower than the other party's, the grade of her divine dragon blood essence surpassed the other party by far too much. Just like there was a 5th level Nirvana Tribulation Realm heavenly dragon right now, even if a holy dragon appeared in front of Kang Xinmu could also instantly kill the other party, the same logic. Let's go. Seeing that Western Borders Dragon Emperor directly burned by the bright red flames until not even bones remained, only then did the beautiful female dean bring Kang Xinmu, planning to leave. And at this very moment, in the entire stretch of boundary dividing forest, the demonic beasts watching this scene all had shocked faces, cold sweat pouring profusely. Chapter 43-51. The beautiful red-clothed dean led Kang Xinmu and ran out of the dividing forest. Then, she spent 6 hours outside the dividing forest to build a one-time spacetime formation. This spacetime formation could directly lead to the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty that Kang Xinmu wanted to go to. I'll go with you. After you've settled your matters, I'll bring you back. The beautiful dean pursed her lips and made arrangements for Kang Xinmu and ran. Of course, Kang Xinmu wouldn't refuse. She was helping him and also worried about him. She was afraid that he would encounter some danger that Xiaofan had arranged for him in the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. If it wasn't necessary, Kang Xinmu wouldn't bother others like this. Unfortunately, due to the existence of the Black Dragon's consciousness and the fact that he had swallowed too much flesh and blood essence previously, he had fainted. This matter made him more and more afraid of the Black Dragon's consciousness. It seemed that as he became stronger, the Black Dragon's consciousness would awaken more easily. No matter what, Kang Xinmu couldn't give up on becoming stronger. If he wanted to get rid of the Black Dragon's consciousness, he could only improve his strength and come into contact with matters of a higher level. Then, he would see if those seniors had a way to solve it. For example, if he met the Supreme Divine Dragon, the other party might know something about the Black Dragon's consciousness. No matter what, Kang Xinmu didn't plan to tell the beautiful Dean of Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. He felt that the existence of the Black Dragon's consciousness was beyond the beautiful Dean's level. It would be useless to tell her. It might even expose some dangerous signals. Then, Kang Xinmu and Ran were led by the beautiful Dean through the spacetime formation and returned to the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. The Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty hadn't returned for a long time. When Kang Xinmu opened his eyes, he found himself in the capital of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, Fiery Dragon City. Compared to the capital cities of the Dragon Emperor's countries that he had been to during this period of time, Yen Dragon City really wasn't that magnificent. However, when Kang Xinmu arrived here, he felt a sense of familiarity. After all, it was in this Fire Dragon City's Fire Dragon Sacred Tower that he was able to obtain the East Emperor Seal and gain the right to enter Donghuang Yangwu College. Now, although he was already a student of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, he still missed Emperor Yan very much. His clansmen were here. Here, there were his friends. And his elders. Dragon Emperor Yan, the 12 Flame Dragon Envoys. Their strength, in Kang Xinmu's eyes, wasn't that strong anymore. However, in Kang Xinmu's eyes, they were still his seniors. Dragon King Ming, Dragon King K, and the other 12 Dragon King experts, Kang Xinmu still did not have the strength to defeat them. They were all high-level reincarnation tribulations realm experts. I wonder if Xiaofan has sent anyone to Emperor Yan's Dragon Emperor Yan, Kang Xinmu thought to himself. He was a little worried. After all, Emperor Yan's Dragon Emperor Yan was the place that he treasured the most. Whatever you want to do it now. Remember, don't be too high profile. I will protect you in the dark. Finish it as soon as possible. After the beautiful Dean brought them to Yan Dragon City, her figure disappeared into the void without any warning. Only Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran were left standing outside the city walls of Yan Dragon City. They looked up at the towering city walls of Yan Dragon City. Let's go in and take a look. Kang Xinmu didn't know if Dragon Emperor Yan was around. Now that he had returned, he had to meet the elders if he had the chance. They were quite low-key. There was even the centipede ink beast hiding their aura in the dark, so that their presence was minimized. The dark aura covered their faces, making their faces vaguely visible. Even those who were familiar with them in the past might not be able to recognize them now. When they went to the city gate of Yan Dragon City, they found that the number of dragon martial artists guarding the city gate seemed to have increased. What's going on? Kang Xinmu keenly sensed that something was wrong. Along the way, many people walked on the official road with them and then went to the city gate of Yan Dragon City. On the way, he heard the caravan that was going the same way as them seem to be talking about something. It seemed to be about Dragon Emperor Yan being taken away. Flame Dragon Emperor Yan was taken away? Kang Xinmu's heart sank. If this was true, then it meant that Xiaofan had definitely taken action against Dragon Emperor Yan. He couldn't wait to know what the situation was like. But he didn't show it on the surface. He and Ran Ran pretended to be two young dragon martial artists and followed the caravan to Yan Dragon City. When they passed through the city gate, the guards did a little check and let them go. The check was stricter than usual, but Kang Xinmu didn't know what it was. When he entered Yan Dragon City and walked on the main street, he saw a wanted order on the wall of a building along the way. Wanted order, Kang Xinmu. It turned out to be a wanted order for him. There seemed to be such a wanted order posted inside and outside Yan Dragon City, but there was only one wanted order. Ran Ran was not on it. No wonder the check was so strict. Did they think that I would come back, so they made arrangements here in advance? If Kang Xinmu were to bring Ran Ran back by himself, it was needless to say how many difficulties he would have to face along the way. Even if he reached the Dragon Emperor Yan dynasty, he probably wouldn't be able to break through to the 6th stage of Nirvana Tribulation Realm with peace of mind. The current situation of the Dragon Emperor Yan dynasty was probably not good. He was even worried about the situation of the Jiang clan and the Shi clan residents in Dragon Prison City. Let's see what the situation of Yan Dragon City is like now. If Dragon Emperor Yan was really taken away, then who is in charge of Yan Dragon City now? Is it the 12 Flame Dragon Envoys? It shouldn't be. They wouldn't put up so many wanted orders for me. Kang Xinmu trusted the Flame Dragon Envoys. Unless they were forced, they wouldn't do so. The most likely possibility was that Yan Dragon City was already controlled by someone else. The entire Yan Dragon Emperor Yan dynasty was likely to have fallen into someone else's hands. This person was at least an expert at the level of the Dragon Emperor. He was sent by Xiaofan. Kong Xinmu didn't know who it was. He had to enter Yen Dragon City to investigate. If not for the Nightmare Ink Beast helping me conceal my appearance, I'm afraid it would have been difficult for me to enter the city. I would have been exposed at the city gates. Kong Xinmu was somewhat gratified. The Nightmare Ink Beast had followed him all the way. Although it rarely showed itself, it had helped him a lot. To be honest, Jiang Xinwu felt that he hadn't done anything to help the Obsidian Ink Beast, yet this little fellow had helped him so much. This made him feel a little apologetic. At that time, he didn't mean to save the Obsidian Ink Beast. Chapter 43-52. Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran entered the fiery dragon city without a sound. It was almost as if they did not exist. The concealment ability of the Nightmare Ink Beast was not only able to hide itself from others, but it could also hide the aura of those it was willing to help. Now that Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran were walking on the streets, no one knew that they had the divine dragon's blood essence that was at the same level as the Dragon King. If not for the help of the Nightmare Ink Beast, such a young Dragon King would have caused a commotion. Now that he was wanted by the entire city, he naturally had nowhere to hide. Fortunately, with the existence of the Nightmare Ink Beast, Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran would not attract anyone's attention. Kong Xinmu led Ran Ran all the way to the city lord's mansion. Along the way, he paid attention to the conversations of the passers-by. It seems like the Yen Dragon Emperor has been taken away. The person in charge of the fiery dragon city now is a Dragon King. He seems to be at the third stage of the rebirth tribulation state. He is a young Dragon King. This Dragon King is the crown prince of the neighboring northern Chill Dragon country. It is said that there is a big shot behind him. The northern Chill Dragon country had tried to invade the Yen Dragon Emperor's dynasty many times. Kong Xinmu had a deep impression of the northern Chill Dragon country. The crown prince of the northern Chill Dragon country has come to take charge of the capital of the Yen Dragon Emperor's dynasty? Xiaofan, you are too much. I wonder how the 12 Flame Dragon envoys are doing. Kong Xinmu gritted his teeth. He could easily kill the crown prince of the northern Chill Dragon country. The Dragon King, who was at the third stage of the rebirth tribulation state, sounded strong, but he was at the limit of what Kong Xinmu could deal with. The other party was definitely not young, probably in his 30s or 40s. Dragon King, who had reached the third stage of the rebirth tribulation at such a young age, was already very impressive. However, it was nothing to Kong Xinmu, who was qualified to enter the Dragon Martial Academy. If Kong Xinmu was given another 10 years, he would be able to leave this guy far behind. Even now, if Kong Xinmu were to fight him head-on, he would not be afraid of him. Furthermore, the northern Chill Dragon country's crown prince was probably just a cameo. It was completely arranged by Xiaofan. Even if Kong Xinmu killed him, there wouldn't be any serious consequences. Now, what Kong Xinmu was most worried about was that his friends in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court had been captured by Xiaofan. If that happened, he would have to hold back for fear of breaking the vases, and it would be inconvenient for him to do anything. However, dealing with a prince of the northern Chill Dragon country was not a problem. The 12 Flame Dragon envoys have all been taken away. One of the Flame Dragon envoys seemed to have been killed in the sky above Fiery Dragon City in order to resist the invaders. Not long after, Kong Xinmu's heart sank when he heard the news again. This was the worst news he had heard since he returned. Each of the 12 Flame Dragon envoys was Kong Xinmu's senior. Although he had never met a few of them, they were all respectable seniors in his heart. However, now, one of the Flame Dragon envoys had been killed in the sky above Fiery Dragon City in order to resist the invaders. The news that Kong Xinmu heard came from a restaurant. The voice said that the flame dragon envoy had been cut into 81 pieces, and his blood had splattered all over Fiery Dragon City. The person who had killed him was the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country, the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country. Of course, the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country was not the most powerful person who had come. It was said that there was also a black-robed dragon martial artist. It was that black-robed dragon martial artist who had suppressed the Flame Dragon Emperor and taken him away. Without the Flame Dragon Emperor, the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country could do whatever he wanted. Even the 12 Flame Dragon envoys could only watch him invade the Flame Dragon Emperor's empire. All of this is because of me. Xiaofan wanted to deal with me. That's why you brought the Yen Dragon Emperor away, to make me hesitate. But he sent people to take the Flame Dragon Emperor away, which caused the entire Flame Dragon Emperor's empire to become unstable. Some Flame Dragon envoys even died because of this. The other 11 Flame Dragon envoys were also taken away by that black-robed dragon martial artist. In other words, the current Flame Dragon Emperor's empire is completely controlled by the Northern Chill Dragon Country. Then, the Shi clan mansion and the Jiang clan in Dragon Prison City will not be in a good situation. Kong Shinmu was very anxious. Ran followed Kong Shinmu and could see his anxiety. Unfortunately, there was nothing she could do to help. Kong Shinmu glanced at her and an idea flashed through his mind. He could let her go to the Jiang clan and Dragon Prison City to see if anything had happened. But on second thought, the Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy could only protect one person at a time. If Ran were to be separated from him and something happened to her, it would be really difficult to deal with. Let's go to the City Lord's mansion. Kong Shinmu's face darkened. He brought Ran and headed to the City Lord's mansion. The Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country had already left the Flame Dragon City. He was preparing to return to the Northern Chill Dragon Country and bring his army to the Sealing Dragon Abyss. He planned to reoccupy the Sealing Dragon Abyss. Although the Dragon Emperor and the 12 Flame Dragon envoys had been taken away, the Sealing Dragon Abyss was still guarded by the Flame Dragon army. Without the Dragon Emperor of the Flame Dragon Country's order, they would definitely not leave. Therefore, even though the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon City was in control, he still needed to go to the Sealing Dragon Abyss and destroy the Flame Dragon army. Kong Shinmu had received the news that the Dragon Emperor had been taken away the day before yesterday. According to the time, the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill Dragon Country's movements were not that fast. As long as the Dragon Emperor was not in the Flame Dragon City, everything would be fine. Kong Shinmu wanted to kill the Northern Chill Dragon Crown Prince. At this moment, the entire city was putting out a wanted poster for Kong Shinmu. Many restaurants were filled with complaints about Kong Shinmu, saying that he was ungrateful. The Dragon Emperor had taken such good care of him, but he had caused trouble outside and implicated the Dragon Emperor. Even under such circumstances, he did not come back to take a look. Those voices said that as long as Kong Shinmu took the initiative to appear, the black-robed dragon martial artist would release the Dragon Emperor and the 11 Flame Dragon envoys, so that the Yen Dragon Emperor's court could return to normal. However, Kong Shinmu did not believe this at all. What he wanted was to use his fists to crush all the opponents in front of him. He had the super divine Dragon Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy behind him, so he was not afraid at all. Moreover, even if he encountered an ordinary opponent, the beautiful female Dean would not make a move. He had his own trump card. In the vicinity of the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, he could use the dragon scale to summon the heaven-opening demon dragon to help. With so many trump cards, Kong Shinmu went straight to the Yen Dragon City Lord's residence. He led Ran and stepped on the stairs leading to the Yen Dragon City Lord's residence. On the stairs, there was a dragon martial artist guard from the Northern Chill Dragon Country at regular intervals. They all had Heavenly Dragon Divine Dragon Blood Essence, and each of them was at least a first-stage rebirth tribulation realm expert. When they saw Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran's figures step on the stairs, they could not help but be on guard. They felt that Kong Shinmu's figure was somewhat familiar. However, they could not remember where they had seen it before. This was the hidden effect of the obsidian ink beast. "Stop, tell me your name." The two Northern Chill Dragon Country dragon martial artists at the front shouted. They were the captain of the guards and had a cultivation of the third stage rebirth tribulation realm. Chapter 43-53. Stop, tell me your name. The two dragon warriors from the Northern Chill Dragon Country immediately stepped forward and glared at Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. They were somewhat familiar with Kong Shinmu, but they couldn't recall who he was. They simply didn't want to think about it anymore. After all, they were just two teenagers. However, they seemed to be quite interested in Ran Ran. It was rare to see such a beautiful girl. However, what welcomed them was not Kong Shinmu's reply. Instead, a dragon's roar rang out in an instant. The devouring power instantly erupted and directly enveloped the two dragon martial artists from the Northern Chill Dragon Country. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that a young man would dare to attack them in front of everyone in the city governor's mansion. He stood rooted to the ground. He wanted to transform into a dragon to block Kong Shinmu's attack, but it was too late. Void Dragon raises the heavens. Right in the sky above the Flame Dragon City Lord residence, 12 pitch-black divine dragon phantoms instantly formed. Immediately afterwards, 12 beams of light descended from the sky. In an instant, each pitch-black beam of light blasted towards the dragon martial artist guarding the stairs of the City Lord mansion. They were all heavenly dragon-level divine dragon blood essence. Regardless of whether they were at the first or third stage of the rebirth realm, none of them could stop the joint attack of Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. Both sides immediately used their origin dragon martial techniques. They had already cultivated this void dragon sky-raising break to the peak. At this moment, in front of an ordinary dragon martial artist, it was simply a crushing defeat. The 12 dragon martial artists in front did not even have the time to react before they were completely annihilated by their attacks, leaving not even their bones behind. Such an offensive almost shook the entire city. Flame Dragon City, which was originally in a state of tranquility, suddenly burst into an uproar. Originally, the peace was only due to the high pressure after the Northern Chill Dragon Country occupied the Fire Dragon City. But now, someone was causing trouble in the City Lord's mansion, which immediately attracted the attention of the dragon warriors of the Fire Dragon Emperor's court. They had long been hoping that someone would appear and save the Yen Dragon City from its decline. If anything, it would be the entire Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. Originally, they had thought that this was an extravagant hope, but now it seemed that such a person had appeared. With just one move, he had killed all 12 of the Northern Chill Dragon Country's elite guards, dragon martial artists. With this kind of strength, even if it couldn't be compared to the Dragon Emperor, it was still the strongest among the Dragon King. Who had come? Around the City Lord's mansion, countless pairs of eyes stared at the entrance of the City Lord's mansion from the countless restaurants and inns. They saw two black dragons that were more than 500 meters long erupting with all their strength, attacking the elite dragon martial artists guarding the entrance of the City Lord's mansion. These elite guards were all from the Northern Chill Dragon Country. They were responsible for protecting the entire City Lord's mansion. Right now, the security of Fiery Dragon City was also managed by these guards from Northern Chill Dragon Country. It could be said that all the dragon martial artists in Fiery Dragon City lived in a high-pressure state. Although the elite dragon martial artists of the Northern Chill Dragon Country did not burn, kill, or loot when they came to Fiery Dragon City, they had come to the enemy's capital with great difficulty. Naturally, they had to gain some benefits. Therefore, as long as the dragon martial artists in Fiery Dragon City did anything inappropriate, they would be punished and have to hand over a large amount of money, making these dragon martial artists suffer unspeakably. Now, in every corner of Fiery Dragon City, there were many dragon martial artists of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty being punished. However, as the void dragon sky-raising break erupted from the city lord's mansion, everyone's attention in the city was drawn over. The elite dragon martial artists of the northern Chill Dragon country surrounded the city lord's mansion. No matter who dared to cause trouble, they would not let them leave the city lord's mansion alive. As for the other dragon martial artists of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, they were all looking at the city lord's mansion with excitement. Some people were more pessimistic. They looked from afar and sighed, feeling that the troublemakers would definitely not have a good ending. However, soon, as more and more dragon martial artists of the northern Chill Dragon country rushed to the city lord's mansion, the 12 black dragon shadows condensed above the city lord's mansion. Pitch-black dragon breath beams constantly swept towards the sky dragon elite guards who had transformed into dragons. These elite dragon martial artists all had heavenly dragon divine dragon blood essence, and all of them were at the beginner stage of the Samsara realm. They could not withstand Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran's attacks at all. The dragons roared angrily, and the 2 black dragons killed a bloody path through the encirclement of many sky dragon guards. They were getting closer and closer to the city lord's mansion. Kong Shinmu's divine dragon eyes seemed to be burning with endless anger. Elite Sky Dragon country guards from the northern Chill Dragon country were constantly falling. After at least 20 Sky Dragon guards were killed, they no longer approached and retreated to the back. All of them were vigilant but did not dare to leave. If they fled now, they would definitely die. What's going on? What's going on? Not long after Kong Shinmu launched his attack, a series of panicked voices came from the city lord's mansion. Following that, many young women in disheveled clothes ran out of the city lord's mansion, crying and screaming. These young women in disheveled clothes seemed to be from the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. They seemed to have been forced into the city lord's mansion, and not long ago, they were being treated inhumanely. After the northern Chill Dragon country's crown prince took over the city lord's mansion, he had been playing with the young women from the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. These women were all crying and screaming as they ran out. Kong Shinmu was even more furious when he saw these women. This northern Chill Dragon country's crown prince was playing with the women from the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. Kill! Kong Shinmu snorted coldly. In the next moment, his 4,000 to 5,000 feet long divine dragon body had already descended above the city lord's mansion's main gate. A dark shadow covered the entire city lord's mansion. Ran was behind Kong Shinmu, keeping an eye on the northern Chill Dragon guards and martial artists. Meanwhile, Kong Shinmu was going to deal with the overlords of the city lord's mansion alone. 2 men walked out of the city lord's mansion. One of them was an old man in a white robe. He looked cold, thin, and a little arrogant. The other was a middle-aged man in a dragon robe, who looked a little cynical. The old man was an overlord of the Dragon King's level, and he was at the 7th level of the reincarnation state. The middle-aged man in the dragon robe was the northern Chill Dragon country's crown prince. He was indeed not young, and he was an overlord of the Dragon King's 3rd level of the reincarnation state. I was wondering who it was. It turns out that our student Kong Shinmu is back. The northern Chill Dragon crown prince recognized Kong Shinmu immediately. He was quite surprised and happy. I didn't expect you to come here yourself. Chapter 43-54. The Crown Prince of the Northern Han Kingdom's face darkened. He stared at Jiang Shenwu, who had turned into a black dragon, and sneered. I heard that you're a genius from the Dragon Emperor dynasty. If that's the case, I'll come and fight you. Old Shui, you don't have to do anything. I'll kill him first. The Crown Prince of the Northern Cold Region, Dragon King, was at the 3rd level of the reincarnation state. He felt that he was very powerful and was definitely one of the top cultivators among the younger generation. He couldn't believe that he wasn't qualified to join Donghuang Yangwu College. So now, he wanted to kill Jiang Shenwu with his own hands and use this to display his talent and strength. In fact, he was already 40 years old. He could have become the Dragon Emperor in Donghuang Yangwu College. Given the Crown Prince's talent, he wouldn't be able to become the Dragon Emperor so quickly even if he went to Donghuang Yangwu College. As the Crown Prince of the Northern Cold Region, he had received a lot of resources. The amount of energy he could absorb from the Dragon Mark in Donghuang Yangwu College wasn't much less. However, he was only at the 3rd level of the Dragon King's blood essence. He couldn't even compare to Kang Xinmu. Anyway, the Crown Prince was very confident in his strength. He immediately turned into a dragon. The elite guards and dragon martial artists of the Northern Cold Dragon Country all backed away. They finally heaved a sigh of relief. Since the Crown Prince of the Northern Cold Region had appeared, they didn't need to care about what happened next. The Crown Prince turned into a dragon. He was an ice divine dragon, the sky-breaking dragon. As soon as he transformed into a dragon, the temperature of the entire area dropped below freezing point. Countless frost and snow condensed in mid-air, fluttering in the air like snow falling from the sky. Jiang Shenwu's black dragon body was also covered in a layer of frost as it revolved around the extreme frost sky-splitting dragon. Ran looked at the extreme frost sky-breaking dragon and took a step back. She wasn't its opponent, but she knew that in Kang Xinmu's eyes, the extreme frost sky-breaking dragon was nothing. Even if an expert of this level attacked with all his might, Kang Xinmu would still be able to devour him. Die. 9 Dragons Cold Light suppresses the void. After the Crown Prince of the North Chill Country transformed into a dragon, he did not hesitate to use the Origin Dragon Martial technique. As the Crown Prince of the Northern Chill Dragon Country, he naturally had the qualifications to cultivate the Dragon Martial technique to the Origin level. As soon as the Dragon Martial technique was unleashed, 9 rays of chilling dragon aura immediately condensed in the surroundings. Then, 9 rays of chilling dragon breath instantly swept towards the place where Kang Xinmu was. They're fighting. Everyone in the entire Flame Dragon City was watching the intense battle with nervous expressions. They had already recognized Kang Xinmu's identity. He was the talented young man that Dragon Emperor Yan thought highly of. It was this talented young man who had caused Dragon Emperor Yan to be taken away by a mysterious person and killed one of the 12 Flame Dragon envoys. This young man had returned. He provoked the Crown Prince as soon as he returned. In terms of cultivation level, the Crown Prince was way stronger than him. One was a 5th level Nirvana state, while the other was a 3rd level rebirth state. They were not on the same level at all. On the other hand, the divine dragon essence blood was at the level of the Dragon King. At this moment, when the Crown Prince used the Dragon Martial technique, Kang Xinmu did not show any signs of weakness. Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike. 6 beams of dark dragon breath shot out from the mouths of the surrounding divine dragon phantoms, directly bombarding the void suppression of the 9 dragons. The 6 rays of dark dragon breath blocked 6 of the rays of cold light and exploded in the air. The energy from both sides created a ripple that spread in all directions. As for the remaining 3 beams of cold light, they forcefully bombarded Jiang Shenwu's pitch-black divine dragon body. The Crown Prince of the North Han Kingdom grunted. He sensed Jiang Shenwu's level and strength and felt that he wasn't a powerful cultivator. Even if there were only 3 beams of cold light left, they should be able to severely injure him. It was a pity, in his eyes, when the 3 rays of cold light hit Kang Xinmu's divine dragon body, Kang Xinmu did not move at all. The 3 beams of cold light seemed to have bombarded a mountain of steel and were directly blocked by his physical body. His attack could not break through Kang Xinmu's body. A pitch-black devouring power appeared on the surface of Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body and quickly swallowed the power of the 3 rays of cold light. After a while, Kang Shinmu's resistance to the ice element force increased tremendously. The Crown Prince could not hurt Kang Shinmu at all, and it was even more difficult now. Dragon Weapon. Ice God Trident. A top heaven-grade dragon weapon immediately shot out a ray of cold light and turned into an ice trident. The Ice God Trident, a heaven-grade dragon weapon, combined with the Crown Prince's own strength, produced a terrifying power in an instant. The appearance of the dragon weapon had at least doubled the Crown Prince's strength. 9 dragons cold light suppressing the void. The Crown Prince used the Source Dragon martial technique again. This time, his eyes were filled with endless cold light. Although it was the same dragon martial technique, the power of his attack had at least doubled with the help of the dragon weapon. This time, he wanted to see how Kang Shinmu was going to block it. Then, something completely out of his expectations happened. However, Jiang Shenwu did not have the slightest intention of dodging, nor did he have any intention of displaying his defensive dragon martial technique. Just like that, he forcefully faced his attack and suddenly flew towards it. From the looks of it, it was as if Jiang Shenwu had crashed into his dragon martial skill. The Crown Prince felt that with Kang Shinmu's speed, he could easily dodge most of the Crown Prince's attack with a casual use of the dragon martial technique. However, Kang Shinmu did not think that way at all. He directly flew toward the 9 rays of cold light that could suppress the void. With a bang, the black dragon that Kang Shinmu had transformed into crashed into the 9 rays of cold light like the toughest steel and blocked them all. The fragments of the 9 rays of cold light exploded in all directions. Kang Shinmu had shattered them with his body. The black dragon's body was full of ice fragments, but it was not injured. Blood flowed out of the divine dragon's body. The 9 beams of cold light collided with the black dragon's body and exploded in an instant, spreading out in all directions. The devouring power did not stop at all. It directly devoured the shattered ice attribute energy like maggots attached to bones. It even formed a thin layer of ice barrier on the surface of Kang Shinmu's black dragon's body. This layer of frost barrier had already reached the limit of resistance against the power of the ice attribute. This was the ice barrier formed by the devouring power. It had an extremely strong devouring effect on any ice attribute energy. 2 more times. I'm afraid even that 7th stage rebirth state old man can't hurt me. Chapter 43-55. At that moment, the skinny elder in a white robe stared at the black dragon that Kang Shinmu had transformed into cautiously. He had never thought that Kang Shinmu would be able to withstand 2 attacks from the Crown Prince with just his body. The 2 attacks were stronger than the last, especially the second attack that was combined with the dragon weapon. Even the Dragon King, who was at the 4th level of the rebirth state, would find it hard to withstand it. However, Kang Shinmu, who was only at the 5th level of the nirvana state, had managed to withstand it with his body. The elder in a white robe couldn't believe it. Old Shui, do it. By then, the Crown Prince had also realized that he couldn't hurt Kang Shinmu at all. I wonder what kind of evil tricks this kid used. How could his body be so strong? The Crown Prince felt that Kang Shinmu was a bit strange. At his call, the arrogant and thin old man in white robes finally took a step forward. With this step, he turned into a powerful, snow-white dragon. Another 1,500 feet long Dragon King appeared in the sky above the City Lord Manor of Flame Dragon City. Jiang Shenwu looked at this scene and thought to himself, it's finally here. He hadn't attacked the Crown Prince before because it was meaningless. Not to mention that his Shadow Dragon sky-piercing strike couldn't kill the Crown Prince. Even if it could, he couldn't really attack the Crown Prince with the old man around. Therefore, everything he did was to guard against the old man. The existence of the old man was what Kang Shinmu was most afraid of. However, after fighting with the Crown Prince twice, Kang Xinmu was no longer afraid of the old man. Most of the dragon martial artists in the northern cold dragon country had ice elemental talents. Kang Xinmu also felt the ice elemental energy from the old man, so he was sure that the old man was also an inheritor of the ice elemental divine dragon blood. For the current Kang Xinmu, as long as it was an ice-type attack, the effect would be reduced by at least 90%. Kang Xinmu's refined dragon martial arts technique was perfect. Plus, he had just swallowed 2 powerful attacks from the Prince of the North Frigid region, so Kang Xinmu's black dragon body was extremely resistant to the power of ice element. It would be strange if this old man could hurt Kang Xinmu. Unless the other party had the inherited essence blood of the Dragon Emperor, there was no way they could hurt Kang Xinmu. Of course, Kang Xinmu did not underestimate him at all. Moreover, when old Shui made his move, he had another plan. The plan was about to be implemented. When old Shui turned into a dragon, Kang Xinmu no longer looked at the Prince of the North Cold region. The Prince of the North Cold region stepped back to make space for old Shui, in case he accidentally hurt him. "Kid, if you surrender now, I can spare your life," old Shui said to Kang Xinmu. His voice shook the sky and spread across the entire Fiery Dragon City. All the dragon martial artists of Fiery Dragon City looked at Kang Xinmu, wondering what decision he would make. It was impossible for a 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation state to fight against a 7th-level Reincarnation state. I'm afraid Kang Xinmu has a trump card. Maybe he has an overlord supporting him. It's possible that once old Shui makes his move, an overlord will kill that old man. Humph, Kang Xinmu is a coward. He only came out now, and even the Yen Dragon Emperor has been taken away. Some people hoped that Kang Xinmu had an overlord supporting him, while others were still dissatisfied with Kang Xinmu. Because of Kang Xinmu, the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty was in such a situation. Many dragon martial artists in the entire Fiery Dragon City had been oppressed by the elite guards of the northern cold dragon country and robbed of many precious cultivation resources. How could they accept this? Although they hoped that Kang Xinmu could kill his opponent, it didn't seem likely. After all, the difference between the two sides was too huge, unless there was an even more powerful overlord hidden in Fiery Dragon City, a helper that Kang Xinmu had called for. However, if there was such a person, Kang Xinmu would have called for that overlord a long time ago, right? Why wait until now? No matter what, almost no one in Fiery Dragon City thought highly of Kang Xinmu. Old Shui was the same. He didn't care much about Kang Xinmu, but he was always on guard against any overlord that might appear. After transforming into an ice attribute divine dragon, old Shui sneered and immediately roared at Kang Xinmu. The sky was filled with ice and snow, along with his powerful dragon martial technique, condensed into countless ice crystal arrows. These arrows formed an ice arrow rain, violently flying towards Kang Xinmu. After exploding this dragon martial technique, old Shui didn't pay much attention to Kang Xinmu. Instead, he was always on guard against any possible sneak attacks from the dark. What a pity. Kang Xinmu didn't intend to ask for help at all. In this kind of situation, he could handle it alone. When the ice arrow rain whistled with killing intent, the devouring power all over Kang Xinmu's body was covered with a layer of red dragon scar blood. The power of the dragon scar blood erupted and fused with the devouring power. Kang Xinmu's blood essence started to boil. His pair of divine dragon eyes turned red. At this moment, the blood-red devouring power swept out violently and actually blocked more than half of the enemy's frost arrow rain. Moreover, it wasn't just blocking. Kang Xinmu's devouring power started to devour more than half of the ice arrow rain. On the surface, it looked like he was just barely blocking the attack. In reality, he had already transferred this portion of power to his own use. As it was only a portion of the opponent's power, Kang Xinmu could still devour it for his own use. The remaining portion of the ice arrow rain finally landed on Kang Shinmu's body. The sharp ice crystal arrows left deep bloody holes on Kang Shinmu's body. The divine dragon's blood splattered everywhere. However, most of the power of Old Shue's attack had already been blocked by the layer of ice crystal shield on Kang Shinmu's body. Therefore, even though Kang Shinmu looked like he was bleeding all over, he had actually only suffered minor injuries. Not only that, when the ice crystal arrows shot into his black dragon body, they were immediately engulfed by the devouring power. All of them were devoured, which made his body's resistance to the ice attribute power even stronger. Attack! At this moment, when no one expected, Kang Shinmu suddenly used the portion of the ice crystal arrows that he had devoured and suddenly attacked the prince of the Northern Han Crown Prince who had retreated to the side. Jiang Shenwu's shout of attack caused everyone in the surroundings to be stunned. They thought that an overlord arranged by Kang Shinmu would appear to help Kang Shinmu deal with Old Shue, however, they soon realized that it wasn't. After Kang Shinmu said attack, Old Shue's ice crystal arrow dragon, which seemed to have been blocked by Kang Shinmu, suddenly changed direction and flew towards the Northern Han Dragon country. What was going on? Chapter 43-56. Even Old Shue and the Prince of the Beihan region were dumbfounded. What was going on? Old Shue wanted to kill him? The Crown Prince's expression changed. He quickly tried to dodge, but it was impossible for him to escape from the attack range of the ice crystal arrows in a short period of time. Given his strength and the fact that he didn't have time to activate the dragon technique, only his top dragon weapon, the Ice God Trident, could help him block the ice crystal arrows. However, without the dragon technique, the Ice God Trident's defense was pitifully weak. The ice crystal arrows pierced through the power of the Ice God Trident and penetrated the Crown Prince's divine dragon body. Hundreds of bloody holes appeared on the Crown Prince's divine dragon body in an instant. His heart, his head, his entire body, were all penetrated by the ice crystal arrows. His pair of divine dragon eyes were wide open, and one of his pupils was pierced by an ice crystal arrow. Fragments of ice and frost remained in his blood-filled eye sockets, making him look incomparably miserable. He couldn't survive such an attack. He might even have lost his life on the spot. He could only open his remaining eye and stare at the person who killed him, or rather, the person who he thought killed him, Old Shue. His eyes were filled with hatred and resentment as he stared at Old Shue. Old man, you, before he could finish his sentence, the Crown Prince of the Northern Cold region breathed his last. He really thought that Old Shue had killed him. Old Shue was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. He had never thought that something like this would happen. It was supposed to be his power. Why did it suddenly turn to attack the Crown Prince? He instinctively tried to control the power when it attacked the Crown Prince, but he realized that it didn't belong to him anymore. It had been controlled by someone else. However, he was unable to defend himself against this matter. Because everyone saw that he was the one who killed the Crown Prince with the ice crystal arrows. Who would believe him if he said that he wasn't the one who controlled the ice crystal arrows? All of the Northern Chill Dragon country's elite guards and dragon martial artists retreated with shock on their faces. The death of the Crown Prince made the dragon martial artists of Fire Dragon City cheer. The Crown Prince of the Northern Cold region was killed. How delightful. A lot of the cultivation resources and money that they had plundered usually ended up in the Crown Prince's pocket. The elite dragon martial artists had to hand over a large portion of the loot to the Crown Prince. Moreover, the Crown Prince of the North Han Kingdom was the enemy of the Dragon Emperor's dynasty. He was extremely cruel to the dragon martial artists in the Fire Dragon City. He even brought 100 beautiful girls into the City Lord Mansion to accompany him every day. Very few of the 100 beautiful girls had made it out alive. As for what happened in the City Lord's mansion, no one knew. But today, Kang Shinmu seemed to have interrupted the Crown Prince and Old Shue's good time. A group of beautiful girls escaped while crying. They said that they had been violently treated while accompanying the crown prince in the city lord mansion. There was something wrong with the crown prince. The other girls who died in the city lord's mansion were all tortured to death by this boy. They were only able to escape because Kang Xinmu had interrupted the prince and old Shue's enjoyment. At this moment, the entire city was shocked and the crown prince of the North Han Kingdom was killed. Everyone looked at old Shue in surprise. They had never thought that he would be the one who killed the crown prince. He had attacked Kang Xinmu just now, but Kang Xinmu wasn't hurt at all. It was like he was tickling him. Then, Kang Xinmu suddenly said, "Do it," and old Shue's ice crystal arrow killed the crown prince. How could people not think that old Shue was the one who killed the crown prince? Old Shue had colluded with Kang Xinmu. The dragon martial artists of Fire Dragon City and the elite guards of the Northern Cold Dragon Country had already confirmed this fact. Although they didn't know why old Shue was with Kang Xinmu, there must be a reason behind it. They had to believe it when it happened right in front of them. You. Old Shue was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He knew very well that he wasn't the one who killed the crown prince, but Kang Xinmu had created such an illusion and made everyone believe it. Most importantly, he couldn't refute it at all. Otherwise, why would he, a level 7 rebirth state cultivator, be unable to hurt a mere level 5 nirvana state cultivator like Kang Xinmu? This was too fake. However, even he wanted to know how Kang Xinmu, a mere level 5 nirvana state cultivator, had blocked his attack and turned it around to kill the crown prince. Well done. At this moment, Jiang Shenwu was also feeling terrible. However, he did not show it. Instead, he continued to speak in an indifferent tone. Since old Shue's power was too strong, it was a heavy burden for him to devour it. At this moment, the divine dragon essence blood in his body had quietened down and his devouring power was almost exhausted. It took a long time to replenish the devouring power after it was used up. Fortunately, his body had 99% resistance to the ice attribute power. Although he had only devoured a small part of old Shue's attack, his resistance to the ice attribute power had increased again. At this moment, even if old Shue attacked him with all his might, he wouldn't die. He would at most be injured. And if he was attacked again, his resistance to the power of the ice attribute would become even stronger. That was the terrifying part of the devouring power. It was also because of the effect of the chaotic dragon body that he had a strong resistance to all kinds of power. Otherwise, Kang Xinmu wouldn't have been able to block the crown prince's first attack. Not bad, my ass. Old Shue was so angry when he heard Kang Xinmu's compliment. He immediately widened his eyes and unleashed all his power. Endless ice and snow, along with a series of heaven-level dragon weapons made of frostbone teeth, swept toward Kang Xinmu. That was his full power. If he could kill Jiang Shenwu, then he wouldn't be wrongly accused of killing the crown prince of the Northern Han region. Although he would still be blamed for failing to protect Jiang Shenwu, it would be much better than killing the crown prince himself. Unfortunately, he didn't know that he didn't have a chance. Chapter 43-57. Old Shue was very powerful. However, Kang Xinmu's advantage had already been established in the series of battles just now. He had devoured too much ice attribute energy, so his resistance to ice attribute energy had already reached an unimaginable level. Old Shue's roaring blizzard covered Kang Xinmu's entire body. However, Kang Xinmu was in the center of this blizzard, and he was not injured at all. An extremely thick layer of ice barrier was formed all over his body. This layer of ice attribute barrier blocked all of old Shue's blizzard power. Only an extremely small part of it could penetrate through and attack Kang Xinmu's divine dragon body. This extremely small part of the power could not hurt Kang Xinmu at all. When old Shui saw that the blizzard dragon martial technique he executed had completely enveloped Jiang Shenwu, he did not show any signs of joy. Instead, he had a sullen expression and a vigilant expression. Soon after, under everyone's gaze, Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body rushed out of the blizzard. At the same time, Kang Shinmu's laughter was heard. You don't have to pretend anymore. You have already killed him, so why are you still pretending? Why don't we sit down and have a good talk about joining the Yen Dragon Emperor's court? As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. Was that really what was going on? This old Shui actually wanted to join the Yen Dragon Emperor's court? And in order to join the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, he actually killed the crown prince of the northern Chill Dragon country. When he heard that, old Shui was furious. He had never seen such a shameless person. Although he did not know how Kang Shinmu had used his power to kill the crown prince of the northern Chill Dragon country, he was sure that it was Kang Shinmu's doing. It was very likely that the powerful figure behind Kang Shinmu had secretly made a move and created the illusion that he had killed the crown prince of the northern Chill Dragon country. With such a powerful figure behind him, he really could not kill Kang Shinmu in such a situation. He might as well go with the flow and save his own life first. He felt that it was utterly impossible for Jiang Shenwu to be completely unscathed under his attack with that little cultivation base of his. There must be a powerful figure behind him. Under such circumstances, if he continued to resist stubbornly, he would very likely be killed by the other party. Now that the other party hasn't made a move openly, it should be because it's not convenient for him to show himself. Or should I say, he wants the real opponent to come and show himself. That means that the person behind Kang Shinmu is probably even more powerful than the Black Dragon Martial Emperor. Everyone, including old Shui and the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor, had no idea who it was that wanted to deal with Jiang Shenwu. They did not know about the existence of the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy's dean, Zhou Xiaofan. They had only met the Black Dragon Martial Master, who was a sixth dragon of the Emperor. Even the Yen Dragon Emperor was captured as soon as he made a move. That means that Kang Shinmu has a way to deal with the Black Dragon Emperor? I'm afraid that the person behind him is a powerful figure from Donghuang Yangwu College. Old Shui kept guessing in his mind. Unfortunately, all his guesses were wrong. The person behind Kang Shinmu was not from Donghuang Yangwu College, but from Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Arts College. The Black Dragon Emperor who captured the Yen Dragon Emperor was the powerful figure from Donghuang Yangwu College. As for who it was, no one knew. Old Shui thought of so many things, so he did not resist anymore. Instead, he deactivated his divine dragon form and raised his hand. He looked around with a serious expression and said, "All soldiers of the Northern Chill Dragon country, listen up. Disarm and return to the camp to rest." This order caused everyone to be dumbfounded. At first, they did not believe that old Shui would cooperate with Kang Shinmu. He actually wanted to join the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. But now, with old Shui's order, whether it was the Dragon Warriors of Flame Dragon City or the elite Dragon Warriors of Northern Chill Dragon Country, they were all shocked. This was actually true. To be honest, even Kang Shinmu himself was a little surprised. However, after thinking about it, he understood the reason. This old man was simply afraid of death. Because he was afraid of death, he temporarily pretended to obey Kang Shinmu and then slowly thought of a countermeasure. In that case, Kang Shinmu could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him. The elite guards of the Northern Chill Dragon Country all deactivated their divine dragon forms. It seemed that they had obeyed old Shui's order and were ready to go back and rest. They had witnessed old Shui kill the crown prince of the Northern Chill Dragon Country with their own eyes. This scene was still lingering in their minds. They knew that there were two paths in front of them. One was to follow old Shui, the other was to go all the way and try to join the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. However, many people did not want to take this path. There was another path, which was to go back first and then secretly report what happened here to the Northern Chill Dragon country so that the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor dynasty would know. As long as the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor dynasty knew, the Black-Robe Dragon martial artist would definitely know. When the Black-Robe Dragon martial artist arrived, it would be the time when the two countries of the Dragon Emperor dynasty would have a real winner. Kang Xinmu could not be bothered to care about their thoughts because there was no need. Chapter 43-58. No matter what old Shui thought, Kang Xinmu did not need to be afraid of him. Then he took out a blood-red dragon scale and called the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon over. The Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon was a demon emperor near the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. He had helped Kang Xinmu many times before, including when several Dragon Emperor kingdoms invaded the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. This time, Kang Xinmu used the blood-red dragon scale again and the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon came over. Of course, he did not know who Kang Xinmu had offended this time. From the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon's point of view, Kang Xinmu was still a student of Donghuang Yangwu College. Now that Kang Xinmu was in trouble and needed him, he was willing to contribute. The appearance of the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon in Yen Dragon City shocked all the dragon warriors around. They had only heard that when the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty was invaded, the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon had appeared to help. They did not expect him to appear in Yen Dragon City now. Looking at the relationship between Kang Xinmu and the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon, it seemed that Kang Xinmu had called the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon over. Kang Xinmu had such a helper. The Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon was a powerful demon emperor. His strength was about the same as the Yen Dragon Emperor. Even if the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor came, he would not be able to defeat the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon so easily. With the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon, Kang Xinmu indeed had the ability to fight against the Northern Chill Dragon country. But what worried everyone in Yen Dragon City was that the opponent Kang Xinmu had offended was not as simple as the Northern Chill Dragon country. Most importantly, it was the Black-Robe Dragon warrior who had easily captured the Yen Dragon Emperor. If it was just the Northern Chill Dragon country, Kang Xinmu would have asked his mentor, Chu Yueqiang, to teach them a lesson so that they would not dare to offend the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty again. However, there was a reason why the Northern Chill Dragon country was so arrogant. Some people even thought that the person Kang Xinmu offended this time was not even afraid of Donghuang Yangwu College. Senior Qi Tian, just wait here for a period of time. If any experts come to invade, I'll need you to take action. Kang Xinmu said to the dragon. The heaven-opening devil dragon laughed and said, "Don't worry, with this emperor here, no matter who comes, they won't be able to hurt you." I didn't expect that there would still be people who dare to come to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court to cause trouble. What a joke. However, the other party has taken Dragon Emperor Yen away as a hostage. You still have to think of a countermeasure. If the other party uses Yen Dragon Emperor's life as a threat, how will you deal with it? This problem was also what made Kang Xinmu the most uncomfortable. Obviously, now that the other party had taken Dragon Emperor Yen away, it was his fatal weakness. It was very likely that Yen Dragon Emperor Yen was in Zhuo Xiaofeng's hands. And the only person who could deal with Zhuo Xiaofeng was the beautiful Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Did she have any way to deal with it? Just as Kang Xinmu was worrying, he suddenly heard a clear and melodious voice. The voice was mature and beautiful. It was the beautiful Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. The voice said, "Don't worry, this person won't dare to kill innocent people, especially people like the Dragon Emperor. If he dares to kill Yen Dragon Emperor Yen, I'll immediately report to the higher-ups, and Zhuo Xiaofeng will be punished directly. This is the rule. So, no matter who the opponent is, just go all out. If you encounter someone you can't deal with, then I'll take action. Of course, it's best to wait until Zhuo Xiaofeng personally appears before letting me out. Otherwise, that guy will definitely not dare to show up." Only when he comes out can I teach him a good lesson. I heard that Xiaofan is still plotting against Yu Tianchang. He really doesn't know what's good for him. These words made Kang Xinmu feel quite relieved. In other words, Xiaofan would not dare to kill Dragon Emperor Yan. Once he killed a person like Dragon Emperor Yan, the higher-ups would not let him off easily. After all, Xiaofan was appointed as the dean of Donghuang Yangu College not to let him bully other ordinary dragon martial artists. If things got out of hand, it would not do him any good, and he might even be severely punished. In that case, Kang Xinmu was relieved. Xiaofan would be handed over to the dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy to deal with. Kang Xinmu only needed to be responsible for luring Xiaofan out. Of course, Xiaofan might not appear in person. This meant that Kang Xinmu had to think of a way to defeat all the people under Xiaofan. No matter who the other party sent, Kang Xinmu had to defeat them. Otherwise, according to the dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Xiaofan would most likely not appear in person. In that case, this matter would not really be resolved. It seems that Xiaofan is very afraid of Dean Emperor Shi. It seems that Dean Emperor Shi is much stronger than him, and his status is also higher. Kang Xinmu was not clear about the situation at the higher-ups. He could only speculate based on the information he had obtained. The 4 great dragon martial academies of the dragon martial continent were equal to each other. However, each dean seemed to have different seniority and strength. Kang Xinmu still did not know the cultivation and strength of the beautiful dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Xiaofan, on the other hand, did not seem to be too strong. Although he could crush people at Kang Xinmu's level, the pressure he gave Kang Xinmu was still much weaker than that of the beautiful dean. In that case, I have to think about how to deal with the opponents that will appear next. Kang Xinmu thought to himself. Before Xiaofan appeared, the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor would definitely return. As for the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor, he could let the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon deal with him. Both sides were at the same level of strength. Kang Xinmu was not worried that the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon would lose, unless the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor had other Dragon Emperors to help him. However, this was basically impossible. After all, this matter had just happened. The Northern Chill Dragon Emperor was thinking about monopolizing the Dragon Sealing Abyss. It was impossible for him to spread the news to the neighboring kingdoms of the Dragon Emperor. Therefore, there was only one Dragon Emperor, the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor. However, Kang Xinmu was not worried about him, but the Black-Robed Dragon Warrior. It was conceivable that when the Northern Chill Crown Prince was killed and the news of Kang Xinmu's appearance spread, the Black-Robed Dragon Warrior who captured the Yen Dragon Emperor would definitely appear in person. If he could not deal with the Black-Robed Dragon Warrior, then Xiaofan would definitely not appear. As such, this matter was more difficult to solve. However, the Black-Robed Dragon Warrior's strength was definitely much stronger than Kang Xinmu's. He was even stronger than the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon. He was an existence that could crush the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon. Under such circumstances, without relying on Dean Emperor Shi, how could Kang Xinmu defeat his opponent? No matter what, let's first see how the Jiang tribe and the Shi tribe of Dragon Prison City are doing. Kang Xinmu thought about it and decided to look at the situation in other places first. Chapter 43-59. At the same time, he also asked them to inform Northern Chill Dragon Emperor to return. Anyway, Kang Xinmu was already prepared to kill Northern Chill Dragon Emperor. This person had repeatedly invaded the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. After so many times, he had brought unimaginable losses to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. If Kang Xinmu did not get rid of this person, his temper would be too good. After instructing the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon to guard Yen Dragon City, Kang Xinmu brought Ran and returned to the Shi clan residence in Dragon Prison City. He also took a look at the Jiang clan and found that Xiaofan had not sent anyone to cause trouble in these two places. He probably thought that one Yen Dragon Emperor was enough. After all, these two places were too small. Even if Kang Xinmu had friends, they would not be able to enter Xiaofan's eyes. After confirming that the Shi clan residents and the Jiang clan were fine, Kang Xinmu felt relieved. Perhaps to Xiaofan, these two places did not even have a dragon king, so there was no need to pay attention to them. When he passed by these two places, he did not show himself and did not disturb the lives of the people. However, Kang Xinmu made some inquiries. Even the people of the Jiang clan had heard that Dragon Emperor had been captured, and it was because of Kang Xinmu. The people of the Jiang clan were still a little flustered. After all, Kang Xinmu had provoked an expert. If the other party had any ideas about the Jiang clan, then the Jiang clan would not have any ability to resist. It would be a small matter if they were destroyed. We are still too weak. We can't give them a sense of security. Kang Xinmu sighed. Fortunately, the Jiang tribal clan was not implicated. What happened next would not be related to the Jiang tribal clan. One day later, when he returned to Yen Dragon City, he heard that Northern Chill Dragon Emperor was already rushing over. The Dragon Emperor of the Beihan region had many children, but the most promising one was the Crown Prince of the Beihan region. That was why the Dragon Emperor of the Beihan region had brought the Prince of the Beihan region to the Dragon Emperor's court. He wanted to take this opportunity to give the entire territory of the Dragon Emperor's court to the Prince of the Beihan region so that he could manage the country of the Dragon Emperor. Unexpectedly, Kang Xinmu came back at this time. He killed the Crown Prince of the Northern Cold region as soon as he came back. When this matter reached Beihan Dragon Emperor's ears, it made Beihan Dragon Emperor go crazy. The Crown Prince of the Northern Cold region was killed by Kang Xinmu? It was the biggest joke in the world. This news was sent to him by Old Shui. In the message, he said that Kang Xinmu and the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon were guarding the Fire Dragon City. Old Shui and the other elite guards of the Northern Chill Dragon country were hiding in the Fire Dragon City, which was why they hadn't been discovered. Beihan Dragon Emperor believed this. Because the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon and Kang Xinmu really had the ability to kill the Prince of the Beihan region. Even Old Shui couldn't stop them. It was already difficult for Old Shui to keep himself alive. Therefore, Beihan Dragon Emperor asked Old Shui to continue observing the situation and keep in touch. He would come back soon. At the same time, Beihan Dragon Emperor also sent the news to the Dragon Warrior in a black robe. The Dragon Warrior in a black robe was the cause of this incident. If the Dragon Warrior in a black robe appeared, Beihan Dragon Emperor was confident that he could take down the Yen Dragon Emperor. Before he killed Kang Xinmu, he didn't think it was appropriate. After all, Kang Xinmu called the tutor of Donghuang Yangwu College and injured all four of the Dragon Emperors, including him. This incident was a big blow to him. As the Dragon Emperor, he was no match for the tutor of Donghuang Yangwu College. The gap was too big. From then on, Beihan Dragon Emperor knew that there were too many more powerful beings in the world, so he wanted to continue cultivating. At his current age, it was impossible for him to join the Dragon Martial Academy. He could only try his best to obtain more cultivation resources. There was only one source of cultivation resources, and that was to plunder. The Yen Dragon Emperor was the first target that Beihan Dragon Emperor decided to plunder. With the help of the Dragon Warrior in a black robe, he was confident that he could take down the Yen Dragon Emperor. The two Dragon Emperor countries provided cultivation resources together. Although there weren't many treasures that contained the energy of the Dragon Mark, it could still give Beihan Dragon Emperor a chance to increase the level of the Divine Dragon Essence blood. At the level of the Dragon Emperor, the Divine Dragon Essence blood was divided into 10 levels. The Dragon Monarch's strength would increase tremendously with every increase in level. Because of this, the tutor of Donghuang Yangu College could crush the Dragon Emperors outside and even seriously injure them when fighting against 4 of them. This was the problem of the level of the Dragon Emperor. Beihan Dragon Emperor also wanted to reach a higher level of the Dragon Emperor. Therefore, invading and plundering was the easiest way. Unfortunately, because of this, he lost his most promising son, the Crown Prince of the Beihan region, to become the Dragon Emperor. Of course, he didn't regret it. He just rushed to the Yen Dragon City angrily, followed by the powerful dragon martial artist army of the Beihan Dragon Country. Originally, they were going to occupy the Sealing Dragon Abyss. But now, they could only come to Flame Dragon City first and get rid of Jiang Shenwu once and for all. What he wanted was to get rid of Jiang Shenwu once and for all. Even if the heaven-opening demon dragon helped Kang Shinmu, he wasn't afraid. If Kang Shinmu called the tutor of Donghuang Yangu College, the dragon warrior in a black robe would deal with him. Beihan Dragon Emperor could feel that the dragon warrior in a black robe wouldn't lose to Kang Shinmu. The tutor of Donghuang Yangu College last time could definitely fight against him. The helpers that Jiang Shenwu could call for were all people who could deal with, suppress, and target them. Then, it wouldn't be difficult to deal with Kang Shinmu. After all, in his opinion, Kang Shinmu was just a junior. Any 2 dragon kings could crush Kang Shinmu. His understanding of Kang Shinmu's strength stopped at the border last time. A day later, Beihan Dragon Emperor returned to the Yen Dragon City with the dragon martial artist army. He shouted outside the Yen Dragon City, "Kang Shinmu, get out here. Are you asking me to come out, brother?" A rather mocking voice rang out from within the city. Then, the gigantic figure of the heaven-awakening demonic dragon soared into the sky with billowing black clouds, charging straight for the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill. The heaven-opening demon dragon wasn't afraid at all. He had seen Kang Shinmu call the tutor of Donghuang Yangu College last time and seriously injure the 4 Dragon Emperors, including the Beihan Dragon Emperor. He flew toward the Beihan Dragon Emperor and released his demonic energy. The dark clouds turned into a dark storm and shrouded the Beihan Dragon Emperor. Heaven opening. You're on the wrong side this time. The Beihan Dragon Emperor snorted. I advise you to get out of here. Don't get involved in this, or you will lose your life in this Yen Dragon City. As he spoke, he released the power of ice and formed a barrier of ice mountains to block the heaven-opening demon dragon's attack. Chapter 4360. Is that so? Hee hee. Heaven-awakening demon dragon sneered as he continued to attack. Have you forgotten that you were severely injured by that instructor Chu? Humph. Do you think I would dare to attack the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty without any preparation? Beihan Dragon Emperor snorted. To be honest, the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty is just a bonus. That master only wants Kang Shinmu's life. Heaven awakening, if you know what's good for you, get lost now and no one will chase after you. But if you resist stubbornly, when that master arrives, you will die. Oh, I'm so scared. Heaven awakening demon dragon pretended to be afraid and didn't show any mercy. But in fact, he still took Beihan Dragon Emperor's words to heart. After all, if Beihan Dragon Emperor didn't have a trump card, he wouldn't dare to attack the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty and Kang Shinmu like this. Could it be that there was really an overlord who would attack Kang Shinmu? Heaven awakening demon dragon was a little hesitant, but it was hard for him to get off now. Beihan Dragon Emperor might have said it nicely. If there was really someone behind him, then he wouldn't let Heaven awakening demon dragon go. No matter what, he had to stop Beihan Dragon Emperor now. Beihan Dragon Emperor. At that moment, Jiang Shenwu, dressed in black, appeared on the city wall with a large group of people following him. Kang Shinmu and Ran walked together with many elites of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. There were even a few overlords at the level of the Dragon King. They were all the commanders of the dragon martial artist army. They stood with Kong Shinmu and weren't afraid of Beihan Dragon Emperor at all. Beihan Dragon Emperor's eyes were almost spitting fire when he heard Kong Shinmu's voice. He roared, "Kong Shinmu! You killed my son. This emperor will let you die without a burial ground. The heaven-opening demonic dragon is being held back by me. Old Shui, what are you waiting for?" When he shouted, he felt that he was about to witness Kong Shinmu's death. After all, Old Shui was a dragon king at the 7th stage of the rebirth tribulation realm. Although Kong Shinmu was also a dragon king, he was only at the 5th stage of the nirvana tribulation realm. As for the Yen Dragon Emperor's army commanders and the few Dragon King experts around Kong Shinmu, they weren't weak either. However, most of them were at the 3rd or 4th tier of the rebirth tribulation realm. None of them had surpassed the 5th tier. After all, the strongest Dragon King of the Dragon Emperor dynasty was the 12 Flame Dragon Envoys. Even the other army commanders of the Dragon Martial Warrior Corps didn't have such high cultivation. In Beihan Dragon Emperor's opinion, as long as Old Shui and the Dragon Martial Warrior Corps behind him held back the few Dragon King experts around Kong Shinmu, killing Kong Shinmu would be a piece of cake. After all, he had led 3 legions of Dragon Martial Warriors here this time. But, what was out of his expectations was, Old Shui appeared very quickly. However, after he appeared, he lowered his head and appeared not far from Kong Shinmu, mingling with the experts of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. Although these experts of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty were not as strong as Old Shui, they were enough to suppress Old Shui if they worked together. In other words, Old Shui was completely under control. Previously, Yen Dragon City had been controlled because no one had worked together. After the Yen Dragon Emperor was captured, all the Dragon Martial Warrior Corps had lost their backbone. But now, Kong Shinmu had gathered the experts of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty together again. This was a very strong force that Old Shui could not break through. Old Shui? Why? When he saw Old Shui appear in this state, and he didn't seem to be imprisoned at all, just a little restricted. Beihan Dragon Emperor was stunned. He was a little confused. What was going on? Old Shui was being controlled? But, that was impossible. If he was being controlled, how could he inform him and ask him to come back? Beihan Dragon Emperor couldn't figure it out. Soon, Old Shui coughed and said awkwardly, "My apologies, Emperor." He didn't say too much. After all, he could be said to be Kong Shinmu's prisoner, so he didn't dare to say too much. Old Shui guessed that there must be someone extremely powerful behind Kong Shinmu. Even if it was someone like the Beihan Dragon Emperor or the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon, they wouldn't be able to control his power to kill the prince of the Beihan region. Since Kong Shinmu dared to come back, he must be confident. He was betting. Betting that Kong Shinmu would be the final winner. So, for Old Shui, he was on Kong Shinmu's side now. Kong Shinmu smiled and looked up at the Beihan Dragon Emperor. "You didn't expect this, did you? Old Shui is the murderer who killed your son. Everyone in Yen Dragon City saw it with their own eyes. He has decided to join Yen Dragon City, and I admire his decision." Although it was a young man who said this, no one thought it was funny. Because Old Shui didn't refute it. This meant that what Kong Shinmu said was true. Then, the elite dragon warriors of the Beihan Dragon Country appeared on the city wall, as if they were going to help Kong Shinmu. When the Dragon Emperor of the Northern Chill saw this scene, he was so angry that he almost died. Old Shui betrayed them? The Beihan Dragon Country was in such a good situation, but Old Shui betrayed them? He even betrayed them with so many elite guards of the Beihan Dragon Country and joined the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. This is... The Beihan Dragon Emperor was so angry that he was half a beat slower in his attack, and was almost injured by the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon. In the sky, the Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor were fighting. Extraordinary power swept across the sky, and terrifying destructive power swept across the sky. On the city wall of Yen Dragon City, Kang Xinmu led the crowd to watch the battle. He looked confident on the surface, but in fact, he was a little nervous. If the black-robed dragon warrior came later, he wouldn't be able to stop him. Fortunately, yesterday, with the help of Dean Emperor Shi, he had modified the Flame Dragon City's Great Array formation and provided a precious energy crystal to strengthen the Bao Shadow Array formation. Only Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran knew about this. If the black-robed dragon warrior appeared, he could use the protective formation to delay for a while. As for what to do after that, he would think about it later. Because it was a modification of the protective formation that the Dragon Emperor had set up, it wouldn't expose any traces of Dean Shi. If the black-robed dragon warrior couldn't break it and called Zhou Xiaofan over, then everything would be over. Jiang Shenwu was worried that if the black-robed dragon ancient martial art practitioner could break through the great city protecting array, the situation would not be good. As they did not know who the other party was, even Headmaster Emperor Shi was not sure if the great city protecting array that she had modified could withstand the other party's attack. Seeing that the sky-opening demon dragon was about to retreat to Fiery Dragon City, the Beihan Dragon Emperor suddenly felt something and instantly unleashed many violent dragon martial arts attacks. Unfortunately, the sky-opening demon dragon only casually dodged and avoided all the attacks. Soon, the sky-opening demon dragon returned to the sky above Fiery Dragon City and transformed into the appearance of the middle-aged man in red. He still listened to Kang Xinmu's words. After all, he was very clear about Kang Xinmu's identity. He was a student of Donghuang Yangwu College. Now that he was told to hurry back to Fiery Dragon City, there would not be any mistakes. When he flew back to Fiery Dragon City, suddenly, a layer of flame protection barrier rose around the entire Fiery Dragon City. When this layer of flame protection barrier rose, the sky-opening demon dragon knew that there must be a powerful figure coming. And this powerful figure was definitely someone he could not deal with. Even if it was just someone of the same level as him, if he joined forces with the Beihan Dragon Emperor, the sky-opening demon dragon would not be a match for the two of them. However, Brother Jiang, this protective array formation of yours was set up by the Yen Dragon Emperor in the past, right? The sky-opening demon dragon walked up to Kang Xinmu and asked doubtfully, if this protective array formation is only used to protect the Beihan Dragon Emperor, then it's naturally not a problem, but to protect more powerful figures, I'm afraid. The sky-opening demon dragon's doubts were also the doubts of the other dragon martial artists on the city wall. Moreover, if he encountered any difficulties, shouldn't Kang Xinmu directly invite a tutor from Donghuang Yangwu College? Just like the battle near the dragon's sealing abyss previously, many of them did not understand. But soon, they understood. When the sky-opening demon dragon raised his question and before Kang Xinmu could answer, a huge black figure suddenly descended from the sky. That was another powerful figure at the level of the Dragon Emperor. Moreover, his aura was magnificent, and he was a level higher than the Beihan Dragon Emperor and the sky-opening demon dragon. The pitch-black divine dragon that was more than 10,000 feet long appeared from the clouds. A pair of divine dragon eyes were filled with indifference as it whistled and stopped next to the Beihan Dragon Emperor. The Beihan Dragon Emperor immediately froze. He could feel that this pitch-black Dragon Emperor was too powerful. This was the black-robed dragon martial artist who took the Yen Dragon Emperor away last time. The black-robed dragon martial artist had finally appeared. The Beihan Dragon Emperor glanced in the direction of the Yen Dragon City and saw that Kang Xinmu and the others were actually hiding in the Yen Dragon City. He could not help but snort coldly. Even if it was him, he would be able to easily break through the Flame Dragon protection array that was set up by the Fire Dragon Emperor, much less the black-robed martial artist. As long as he took action, he would definitely be able to easily break through the array. You still came back. The pitch-black Dragon Emperor did not remove his dragon martial artist form. Instead, he looked at Kang Shinmu on the city wall with a look of interest. "Where is the Yen Dragon Emperor?" Kang Shinmu asked. He was also quite nervous now. He did not know what level his opponent was at, and he did not know if the Yen Dragon Emperor Guardian Array that had been modified by Dean Emperor Shi could withstand the opponent's attack. Although he knew that it was useless to ask, he still asked. "If you want to see the Yen Dragon Emperor, just come with me. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will never see him in this life." The pitch-black Dragon Emperor said coldly. What he meant by coming with him was probably to go back to Donghuang Yangwu College with him. In that case, Kang Shinmu would also become a fish on Zhou Xiaofang's chopping block. It would be impossible for him to escape. Even Dean Emperor Shi would not be able to save him. Of course, Kang Shinmu would not do such a thing. Chapter 43-62. It's impossible for me to go with you. Come and catch me if you have the ability. Kang Shinmu's expression did not change. He did not panic because of the opponent's appearance at all. Instead, the others around him all became silent. They could clearly feel the powerful aura of the black-robed dragon martial artist. That was an existence that could crush Dragon Emperor Yen and defeat Dragon Emperor Yen with one move. In the face of such an existence, could they resist with just the protective formation set up by Dragon Emperor Yen? They could not resist it. This was what many people were thinking, because it was inevitable. Even the Yen Dragon Emperor had been defeated in a single move. How could the protective spell formation he had set up be able to withstand the attack of his opponent? However, they did not panic. Because the opponent's target was Kang Shinmu. Even if the opponent broke the protective formation, he would only capture Kang Shinmu. As long as they did not court death and stood in front of Kang Shinmu, they would basically be fine. Humph, stubborn. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. The black dragon snorted coldly. He did not communicate with Beihan Dragon Emperor, but directly attacked the flame barrier outside Yen Dragon City. He looked down on Beihan Dragon Emperor's power. That was because he was much stronger than the Northern Chill Dragon Emperor. He had seen many protective barriers like the one in front of him, but they could not withstand more than 3 moves from him every time. At this moment, 2 rays of black light condensed under the black dragon's claws and exploded toward the flame barrier, directly blasting in the direction of Kang Shinmu. If the flame barrier could be broken, then he could directly kill Kang Shinmu. The opponent's target was Kang Shinmu, so it did not matter if he killed Kang Shinmu. Anyway, Zhou Xiaofang's ultimate goal was to kill Kang Shinmu. At this moment, the opponent's attack was swift and fierce, causing the people around Kang Shinmu to be shocked. Now, it was an absolute suppression of power. Even if they wanted to block for Kang Shinmu, they wouldn't be able to. They would only be killed along with Kang Shinmu. Therefore, they scattered to the side, not daring to stand together with Kang Shinmu. Only Ran was left, and she was standing with Kang Shinmu. The black-robed youth and the black-robed girl stood together like a towering mountain, unmoving. It was as if they weren't worried that the other party's attack would be able to break through their flame barrier. Looking at this scene, even the heaven-opening devil dragon broke out in a cold sweat. Wasn't this Kang Shinmu too arrogant? That black dragon monarch powerhouse was too powerful. Even he was no match for him. Kang Shinmu had placed his hopes on the protective barrier left behind by the Yen Dragon Emperor. This was too, however, before the heaven-awakening demon dragon could say anything, everyone in the surroundings saw a shocking scene. They saw the opponent's pitch-black light beam dragon martial skill bombarding the flame barrier in an instant. The originally expected situation of the barrier shattering and the flames surging did not happen. Instead, when the pitch-black light beam bombarded the flame barrier, the pitch-black light exploded in all directions. Under the explosion, the flame barrier did not move at all. As for his opponent's dragon martial technique, it was instantly destroyed. Such a shocking scene instantly stunned all the dragon martial artists around. This situation was completely the opposite of what they had imagined. When did the protective array of Yen Dragon City become so powerful? If it had been so powerful before, it would have been impossible for the Yen Dragon Emperor to be captured. At least, he wouldn't have been captured so easily. For a moment, everyone was a little confused. Even the Black Dragon Emperor, seeing that his attack did not work, froze in his mystical dragon eyes, as if he had not expected such a situation. That protective barrier seemed to have been tampered with. Had it become stronger? The Black Dragon Emperor did not say much. Black aura erupted from his body, and with an incomparably ferocious force, he launched an even more ferocious attack towards where Kang Shinmu was. The black aura spread and soared in the air. Endless pitch-black energy condensed into a dragon martial skill. Wave after wave, it swept towards the flame barrier in front of Kang Shinmu. The rumbling sounds were endless. However, the opponent's attack seemed to be unable to break through the flame barrier no matter what. Even under the opponent's continuous attack, the flame barrier did not budge at all. The dragon martial artists of Fiery Dragon City were panicking at first. Then, they were surprised. Then, they calmed down and started chatting merrily. Some of them even pointed at the sky and started chatting. They really did not expect their flame barrier to be so strong. If they had known that there was such a strong barrier, why would they have been afraid? The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon was in a state of confusion. He thought that the barrier of Yen Dragon City was so strong that it was not something that the Frosty North Dragon Emperor could break through. It seemed that Kang Shinmu did not need him in the first place. Of course, he quickly figured everything out. If this protective barrier had been so strong from the beginning, the Flame Dragon Emperor would not have been forcibly taken away. Therefore, it was obvious that this protective barrier had been strengthened after Kang Shinmu returned. It had been modified by someone. As for who modified it, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon did not know. Many people thought of this, but they couldn't figure out who was the one who changed the Guardian Barrier. The Black Divine Dragon unleashed dozens of dragon martial skills in succession, but they could not even shake the protective barrier. He could not help but look extremely grim. Who is protecting you? He could immediately tell that someone had definitely been secretly protecting Kang Shinmu and modified this protective barrier. I originally did not want to use this move. The Black Divine Dragon's expression was a little grim, but he did not feel helpless. His face darkened and he stared at Kang Shinmu. Kid, you forced me to do this. In that case, the entire Yen Dragon City will be buried with you. The huge Black Divine Dragon looked at the small Dragon King, Divine Dragon, and even Sky Dragon on the city walls of Yen Dragon City. They were all pointing at him as if they were looking at monkeys, which made him extremely angry. As soon as he said that, the expressions of all the dragon martial artists in Yen Dragon City changed. It sounded like this guy had some extremely powerful means. He actually said that the entire Yen Dragon City would be buried with him. This was simply unimaginable. Moreover, what if what the other party said was true? Would the entire city really be buried with Kang Shinmu? Everyone's faces turned ugly. The Dark Dragon Monarch's words caused everyone in the city to feel a little panicky. Kang Shinmu narrowed his eyes. The other party seemed to have some special means. However, this method could not be used easily, because the destructive power was too great. It could even destroy the entire Yen Dragon City. Chapter 43-63. The bead was only about the size of a human head, but it continued to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the air, gradually condensing into a stronger and stronger spiritual energy storm. This spiritual energy storm merged with the power of the Black Dragon Emperor, forming a larger and larger black storm. The power of the black storm grew from weak to strong. In the beginning, even Kong Shinmu did not feel threatened. But as it absorbed more and more spiritual energy of heaven and earth, Kong Shinmu felt threatened. The reincarnation tribulation realm Dragon King in the city also felt threatened. Then, even the Beihan Dragon Emperor and the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon felt threatened. The threat grew from weak to strong. Not long after, the Beihan Dragon Emperor and the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon felt that if they were sucked into the black storm, they would not survive for even a moment. When the black storm expanded to thousands of feet, everyone's expressions changed. The Beihan Dragon Emperor should be happy to see this, but he could not be happy now. Because if this black storm really destroyed the entire Yen Dragon City, then he would have to clean up the mess left behind. He felt that this kind of thankless task was the most difficult to deal with. The key was that if Yen Dragon City was gone, the Yen Dragon Emperor's court would definitely become very chaotic. He would not be able to get any benefits. For a moment, the Beihan Dragon Emperor's expression was gloomy. But the current situation was no longer something he could control. Everything depended on how the mysterious Black Dragon Emperor would deal with it. For the Beihan Dragon Emperor, the best thing was for Kong Shinmu to come out and die himself. He did not want Yen Dragon City to die with him. That would not be good for Kong Shinmu. In Yen Dragon City, Kong Shinmu also narrowed his eyes. This situation was beyond his expectations. The black-robed dragon warrior was indeed unable to break through the defensive barrier that Dean Shi had modified, but he used this method that even Dean Shi had not expected. He gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and integrated it with his own power. If this was a normal battle, it would be impossible for this guy to have the opportunity to absorb and condense the spiritual energy of the world. But now, Kong Shinmu and the others were all holed up in Fiery Dragon City, giving the enemy a chance to accumulate strength. Using this method, the other party was able to absorb and condense the heaven and earth spiritual chi at an extremely fast speed. Kong Shinmu was unable to stop it at all. He could only watch helplessly as the other party condensed more and more energy. At this time, different voices began to appear in Flame Dragon City. It was not a problem for the other dragon warriors to support Jiang Shenwu. At least when they were not in any danger, it was not a problem. Humans are selfish, and the dragon martial artists are the same. Moreover, in the entire Flame Dragon City, apart from the dragon martial artists themselves, there were also many of their relatives and friends who lived here. If Flame Dragon City was destroyed, how big of a deal would that be? Bring Kong Shinmu out, or I'll send all of you to heaven. The pitch-black Dragon Emperor was in the sky, holding the black storm ball that had condensed endless heaven and earth spiritual chi. He sneered at the people in Flame Dragon City. He was asking the other people in Flame Dragon City to take action and bring Kong Shinmu out. Don't act rashly. This person won't dare to destroy Flame Dragon City. Kong Shinmu's face darkened. He saw that the surrounding dragon martial artists were ready to make a move, and his face did not look too good. He had not expected such a situation. However, Dean Emperor Shi had just sent him a message, which was that this person wouldn't dare to destroy Flame Dragon City. It would be fine if it was some small city, but this was the capital of the Dragon Emperor's country. This guy definitely wouldn't dare to destroy it. This was because this person was a Dragon Emperor mentor from Donghuang Yangwu College. Kong Shinmu had not seen this Dragon Emperor mentor before. This was because this Dragon Emperor mentor was a newly promoted Dragon Emperor mentor. He had been training in the Beast Abyss and had just come out not long ago. He had yet to officially teach students. If a Donghuang Yangwu College mentor destroyed the capital of the Dragon Emperor's country, he would definitely be held accountable by the higher-ups. Not only him, but even Xiaofan would be in big trouble. Although the Dragon Martial Continent was meant to nurture super-divine dragons, where would the geniuses of the Dragon Martial College come from? Of course, they would be geniuses selected from all the Dragon Emperor's countries in the Dragon Martial continent. If the Dragon Emperor's country was in turmoil or even destroyed, wouldn't there be many geniuses and good seedlings who had the potential to become super divine dragons? Therefore, there were rules from the higher-ups. Even the dean of the Dragon Martial College could not kill the Dragon Emperor on the outside, let alone destroy the capital of the Dragon Emperor's country. When he received this news, Kong Shinmu heaved a sigh of relief. At least the risk of Fiery Dragon City being destroyed was not that high. This black-robed Dragon Emperor turned out to be a newly promoted mentor of Donghuang Yangwu College. He did not expect Xiaofan to use him. However, Kong Shinmu's sigh of relief did not seem to be of any use. Because no one else knew about this. Therefore, Kong Shinmu could only shout out that this person would definitely not dare to destroy Fiery Dragon City. However, it did not seem to have much effect on him. After he shouted out that sentence, the surrounding dragon martial artists were indeed slightly stunned. After all, his expression when he shouted that sentence was on point and sounded very reliable. However, immediately after that, the black-robed Dragon Emperor snorted coldly and said, "Everyone, what are you hesitating for? Take a good look and see what this is." After saying that, a token appeared above his divine dragon body, and the words, Donghuang, were imprinted on the token. Many people in Fiery Dragon City knew that Kong Shinmu had joined Donghuang Yangwu College and became a student of Donghuang Yangwu College. Therefore, when they saw the two words, Donghuang, imprinted on the token, their expressions changed slightly. Could it be that someone from Donghuang Yangwu College had come to capture Kong Shinmu? Donghuang Yangwu College's student Kong Shinmu has defected and committed a grave mistake. Today, I am under the dean's orders to capture this traitor. Anyone who dares to stop me will be killed without mercy. The black-robed Dragon Emperor's stern shout and cold snort caused everyone's expression to change drastically. Kong Shinmu was actually a traitor of Donghuang Yangwu College. This guy had defected from Donghuang Yangwu College? And the person they had thought to be the bad guy turned out to be someone from Donghuang Yangwu College who had come under the dean's orders to capture Kong Shinmu. I'm sorry to have taken your emperor, the Fiery Dragon Emperor, away previously. But this was entirely to lure Kong Shinmu out. Otherwise, he would continue to hide and get away with it. The black-robed Dragon Emperor said with a cold smile. He saw that many people in Fiery Dragon City were visibly shaken after hearing his words. Originally, those dragon martial artists would not have attacked Kong Shinmu at all. But after hearing this, they all felt that this time, Kong Shinmu seemed to have harmed them. Even the heaven-opening devil dragon's expression darkened. The reason why he had come out to help Kong Shinmu, even at the cost of fighting the Beihan Dragon Emperor, was because he knew that Kong Shinmu was a student of Donghuang Yangwu College. At the critical moment of the battle, Kong Shinmu would definitely call for the tutors of Donghuang Yangwu College to help him.